for it to catch
Nope,
up?
it's there. Generally about like half a second before it says it started, it actually has started.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. No, stop talking back to me, YouTube. There's no reason for you to be doing that. Anyway, this is Suris, and then Pam is here as well. And we are here with Jim Hall from Atheist Edge. It is not the Atheist Edge because he will murder me if I say that.
Oh, shit. I'm so sorry. I forgot to put my phone on mute.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear, you mean my.
Okay.
Bye,
Sorry.
Hanako.
Not a good way to start. Okay. Airplane
Both of us
mode.
did it. Both of us. We both did it. It's unfortunate.
Oh, what is going on, man? It's been a while. So
It has been a bit since me and you talked about things while you were getting quite drunk.
I only partially remember that.
I think that's kind of the point.
Okay. Fair enough. What was it? Like roughly 2 months ago, you guys were in Dallas and we were at a conference. And what did I say to you? I forget. I gave some sort of prediction.
You said that in a few months I was going to surpass you in subscribers. And
I didn't say a few months. I said 2 to 3 months.
And at the 2-month mark, I'm over 1,000.
And you have 200 more to go, and you have a month to do it.
Well, in a month, then I need to be able to pass you. I'll figure out a way to make that happen.
Well, your trajectory is such that it's a given. So I'm already going to claim victory on that particular prophecy.
So with that said, that officially makes you a prophet, which means you are now rife for me to debunk the shit out of you. But I'm not going to do it the same way I've been debunking Steve Cisalanti, I think is his name. He's incredibly famous on YouTube, at least as far as his channel is concerned. He gets millions of views. But dear Lord, if I have to debunk another one of his prophecies, I've only done one, but it took 3 videos and several hours and several months. If I ever plan on doing that again,
flat Earth one.
What's up?
Was it before or after that flat Earth?
Both. So the answer to that is yes.
Oh, it was that episode.
So I did my first it's the series is called Prophecy Report. I did the Prophecy Report 1, which was just me. I did Prophecy Report 2, which was me and Prophet of Zod, and that was right before the Faithless Forum. And then Prophecy Report 3 was me and Cosmological, and that was about a week and a half ago, I think, something like that. And that was obviously after Faithless Forum. So that series has been on my channel for a while. It's just taking, for feck ever for me to actually finish because, one, the original video was 30 minutes long, which means there was already way too much to unpack. And 2, I knew I was going to have to do it in multiple parts. And I wanted, after I got Zod on, I wanted to make sure that when I did part 3, I had another YouTuber come on with me as well. And it worked out because Cosmological's been way too busy to do any stuff on his own channel. Yeah. So I was like, hey, if you do this and you send me the audio, I can take care of all the other editing and everything else. That way you can actually have something on your channel and we can get the third part of it finished on my channel. And it also ended up working out that Prophet of Zod helped to debunk a prophecy and Cosmological helped debunk a prophecy about astrology.
Oh, gosh.
So it ended up being thematic completely on accident.
That's kind of low-hanging fruit, astrology, though, right?
It is, but it's also funny that a Christian prophet was using astrology.
Oh, yeah, that is irony.
Yeah, when that's something that's damnable.
When well, it's not going to be hard to debunk me as a prophet because the only other prophecy that I really held true to here lately within the last year was the presidential election, and I was way off. Let's just say that. I promised my wife. She went to bed in tears, and I said, "Don't worry. He's not going to win Michigan. He's not going to win Wisconsin. Everything's going to work out just fine. It's going to be okay. You're going to wake up tomorrow, and Clinton's going to be president. However good you want to say that is going to, at least, it might be the lesser of two evils. But I assured her it's not going to be President Trump in the morning, and sure enough,
yeah." What's funny about that, actually, that was a subject of that Flat Earth video that I did as well.
Oh, really?
Part of the subject. Because apparently, not just the Flat Earth video, I completely forgot there's 2 separate. Clinton appeared in 2 of my videos recently. Damn it.
That's right.
Because in the Bible code video, because the requested video from Chaosism was for me to debunk the hidden codes in the Bible. And in that video, I pointed out that the Torah apparently was deconstructed and predicted that Clinton would be the next president. And then, of course, the minute that Trump became the next president, you can go on YouTube and look at the dates. As soon as Trump became president, there were a bunch of predictions made specifically about Trump as if they were there the whole time.
Unfortunately, I haven't got to take a look at your new stuff in like the last 2 weeks, but on the good side is I'm a little less busy now, so I'm just going to binge the last 2 weeks of your content. So, and you said today earlier before we went live something about you're working on some episode about. Can I say it, or do you want to reveal it?
You can go ahead and say it. Anybody who's watched the Non Sequitur show will probably already know where this is going.
Something about urine. An entire episode about urine.
So a bit of backstory. I don't know if you've watched the last few things on the Non Sequitur show, but there was a person on the Non Sequitur show debating or having a discussion with Godless Engineer, and it was allegedly Dave. I don't know if you've seen his channel. He's one of the people who believes in. Let me go through the list. The Earth is flat. He believes in the idea of sovereign citizen. He believes in urine therapy.
Oh my gosh.
And I've already done a flat earth video, and honestly, Delano is infinitely more hilarious to debunk than any other flat earther I've seen because he's so over the top. So I didn't want to do flat earth again. The sovereign citizen thing, I don't want to touch on my channel, at least for a while. But the urine therapy goes into the whole like homeopathy, woo, and just bad ideas.
Okay. The sovereign citizen thing is going to require lots of research.
Yes, and when it comes to stuff like that, I tend to hold on to those ideas for at least a month, if not more, until I have all my research gathered. Like when I did my "What's the Harm" video, where I went over. Forget all the different instances that I went through, but I held on to one particular name that I knew I wanted to have in that video, and I had it sitting in my phone for me to research and take care of for over a month before I ever even touched the video, because I wanted to make sure that I had cited sources and everything, because what I was saying about him was honestly very, very bad. But
all right,
but the facts are there.
I'm going to paste a link in the YouTube chat right now, and this is why I will never have a flat earther on my show. Oh, it removed web addresses. Edit and try again.
Clade, you're right. He was also a breatharian. He believed that he went for 2 months without eating, which is
and they caught him eating. Caught him in a convenience store, didn't they?
Something like that. Yeah. He's all breatharians have been debunked thoroughly, but he still holds to it, and I don't know if he's just so delusional that the things he obviously hasn't done, he thinks he has done, or he's just a standard snake oil salesman and knows it doesn't work, but really wants to peddle it anyway because it makes him feel like he's not a dick.
Here, okay, I can't post the, you won't, your channel won't accept URLs, so I just put the title of it on YouTube. It's called Flat Earth Crushed by Discovery Channel. So yeah, I don't know how long it is. It's a fairly short video, but and I hate being that guy because that's one of my 19 commandments of YouTube is don't refer a video, a book, or an article to someone to explain your point. If you can't explain your point yourself, it's not worth explaining.
Yeah, which is why what I do in any of my videos is I say my point and then I say, by the way, my articles are linked in the description.
Perfect. Below. That's ideal. But that video right there by the Discovery Channel, it's got precise measurements and it involves boats and helicopters and a lake, and it's so cool. And I don't normally do this, but any flat earther, just watch that. It's real short. And then if you still are a flat earther, I might talk to you, but that pretty much crushes any hope that they would have.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate part though is not necessarily that flat earthers exist, because there's going to be people with bad ideas in general. The part that's unfortunate is that the Discovery Channel had to make that video.
Right.
There would not be a reason to make that video if there was not an audience, and there would not be an audience if we didn't have people that literally believed in these bad ideas. And there are some things that I can understand. Like, I've noticed a common trend, and I don't know if you've noticed it as well, but it's a common trend with things like homeopathy, with any type of like medicinal woo, with any type of the entire alternative medicine idea in general. flat Earth, several religions. There seems to be a common trend in all of them in that the information that they have makes perfect sense to a layman. To somebody who does not understand the fundamental principles of what they're talking about, the things that they're saying make perfect sense. But to somebody who does any research in any one of those topics, you can find out that they're basing all of their math and all of their information on a crumbling foundation. Yep. Like what I've noticed with Flat Earth is they have an entire series of articles about the math behind why Flat Earth apparently works, but it requires things like gravity, and they don't believe in gravity. So the math completely falls out from under. It has no foundation to work on. But if you're a layman and don't know that that's part of that language, there's no way for you to even know that.
Yep.
And
have you also noticed this? I've got a friend. He I think we've talked about him before. He thinks a missile hit the Pentagon, not a plane, and that's where we started. And then everything we talked about, and we got to chemtrails, we got to alien abductions. We were all over and there was not the JFK assassination. There was not one thing he ascribed to every conspiracy theory I could think of. And it's something that goes like this. If you believe in 2 to 3 major conspiracy theories, the dominoes start falling, and then something clicks in your brain and you will give in to all of them. Have you ever met someone that only believe is a 9/11 truther and nothing else? It's very rare.
I've met none of them, honestly. Most of the time, it seems that if somebody's a 9/11 truther, they are also a chemtrailer. They are also what really works. Sit somebody down and make them watch Zeitgeist, and see how many times they nod their head.
The original Zeitgeist, the one with all the flaws in it?
The original Zeitgeist that said that, every single thing that happened with Horus also happened with Jesus, even though it's not true. Like, yes, that's Zeitgeist. See how many times they nod their head. I have been one of my close friends when I made my deconversion video, my message to my family video. He said that I sounded like the guy who made Zeitgeist, and my points sounded exactly the same. And I said, well, that's funny because I fundamentally disagree with almost every point in that film. So it's very awkward for you to say that.
Of course, if we run down the list of all those older pagan gods or from other cultures that have similarities with Jesus, some of those do check out, right?
Yeah, some of them do check out. The issue with what Zeitgeist did is it inserted a lot of information that did not have a foundation and had not been peer reviewed into that. And the biggest one,
Horus.
The biggest one was Horus.
Yep.
Yes, there's about 2 similarities between Horus and Jesus, but there's about 15 listed in Zeitgeist.
Right.
And
Richard Carrier he names off some like Zalmoxis, that some lesser known that have up to 23 similarities.
Yes, and the difference
really make you raise your eyebrows.
The difference, though, is that Richard Carrier actually cites his sources.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons that, like, I know a lot of people put down Carrier just because he's a mythicist, but I'm like, he does his research though. He cites his sources and he gives valid reasons as to why he believes the things that he does. Me and you have had the myth versus historic Jesus conversation before.
Oh, that's right,
I still don't know which side of the fence I fall into there. And I still ascribe that it might not really matter which side of the fence I fall under.
I agree completely. That's exactly where I stand. I lean towards historicist, but it wouldn't take much to push me in either direction at this point. I really am on the fence. Now with your codes, I really like your codes, and being a former cryptologist, I just don't have the time to take a whack at them. But have you was it the second code got cracked way too quick? So has your third one? Has anyone taken a crack at it or gotten close?
Nobody has even found the first portion of it.
Really?
As I've said many times before, I'm not going to say how I know, but I actually have something on my channel that lets me know when somebody has found it. I have a little counter, and as soon as somebody finds it, I will know the day that it happens, whether they contact me or not. They
A
have
counter. That sounds like
yet.
something that would be an HTML counter for hits on a actual website. I'm just guessing.
It could be. It could not be, and I will not reveal that information.
Okay. Have you given any other hints in public thus far?
No. What I'm planning on doing is, if nobody finds that code within the first 2 or 3 months, then I may drop a hint. It's the same thing I did with the first code. The first code, the entire idea behind the first code was that it was hidden in plain sight. It was there, and people would just see it, take it for granted, and move on. That was how it was hidden.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped a hint for it on about 2 streams, and the hint didn't lead anybody to it because I know that Jason, the guy who ultimately took over, didn't watch those streams to find out that there was a hint there. But I did do that, and I'm going to continue to do that as a code sits there, and I guess the term would be become fetid. Then I will drop a hint so that it can be found.
Fetid? I haven't heard that in a long time.
That's nice. Well, it's a word that I actually use in my next video I'm uploading. So
okay.
Because one of the things that I pointed out was that if you keep a bad idea there long enough without flushing it down the toilet, it becomes fetid.
Interesting.
Well, there is one hint you could give.
I don't think I want to give it yet.
Pam's about to unload. Go for it.
Don't.
I'm gonna write it down.
Oh, that's badass. Let me see that.
It's not done being painted yet.
Yeah.
Did a fan do that, or did you make it?
This is so my character I told you was based on Thrall.
Mm-hmm.
So what's Thrall's weapon in Warcraft? It's the Doom Hammer.
Yeah, it's a big old hammer. Yeah.
This is a replica of the Doom Hammer from the Warcraft movie, except we're going to be painting it so that it's directly in the style of the one that my avatar uses.
That looks like it's already done. It looks awesome.
No, it's got a little bit of work to do still.
We were Alliance, and every once in a while when we were bored, usually on a Saturday when we're all drunk, we would get into this gigantic raid formation, and we would go to Thrall, and we would just, because you can ride into the horde area, and just they're really hard to take down. You know, they're like overly maxed out on hit points, but you can
not
get
to
all the way up
mention
to
you're dealing with the guards, you're dealing with the level 55 guards, you're dealing with the players.
The merchants.
The guards infinitely respawn.
No, they don't. It takes a while, and you really can piss off people that are farming.
Fair. They think it's like, what, 20 to 30 minutes for a guard to respawn. But the thing is that it might take you that long to kill Thrall.
Yep.
Given that it's you can't do it, at least in vanilla, you couldn't do it with a single 40-man raid group. You'd have to bring in multiple raid groups because you have to deal with Thrall. Then you got to have people who are also taking care of the other players who are trying to prevent you from killing Thrall. And the longer you sit there killing Thrall, the more people will be in Orgrimmar preventing you from killing Thrall.
Yeah.
Ironically, I'm actually going to be starting playing on a vanilla WoW server again for a little bit. Secular, I don't know if you've seen him around.
Yes.
We got to talking on my Discord server that it's pseudo live. It's there, but not everything's functional on it. But I started my Discord server, and he hopped on there, and we got in a conversation about old school MMOs. And he mentioned that he hadn't actually played a lot of WoW. And I said that, there's a private server for it up that's a 1-to-1 recreation of vanilla Warcraft. Like, everything that was in there is there, and it's as functional as it was when Blizzard ran it on their own servers. And the server's A, stable, and B, has a very high population count. It's got the capacity of an actual, legit server. Also, apparently, Steve and Kyle say hey, but specifically, Kyle says hi and Steve doesn't exist, according to the chat.
Are we gonna go down this rat hole?
Not yet. We'll wait until later. We'll wait until later.
If Steve wants to come in, we can just hash this shit out in person.
I'll let you two handle it there.
Okay, just to geek out just a little bit more, because we're probably I bet viewers are being lost as we speak, as we geek out. But did you know we also went down to Booty Bay, and you can. What's the opposite of getting reputation? It's like losing reputation.
You lose honor with them.
Yes. So you go and you just kill everyone in Booty Bay over and over and over again.
Oh, did you guys actually get your reputation with the Bloodstone Buccaneers?
We got our. I think it was either. It's been so long. It was either an eye patch or a pirate sash that you can wear around your head.
Yes, you get the reputation with Bloodstone Buccaneers, and you get that.
Yes. But you have to kill a lot of Booty Bay. All right, I'm done geeking out.
I'm fine with geeking out at any point, especially when it comes to that. Apparently, Collis Black, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, said that he should have known it was WoW, though he was hoping it was any other actual RPG, like D&D, for example. And honestly, I will say this. In its current form, I do not like what WoW's become, but I truly enjoy what WoW was in its infantile years. I really do.
It was such a time stealer. 4 years of my life in a hardcore raiding guild. We were server first on Black Temple. I mean, Serpentine Caverns. We did 5 nights a week and then PvP on Saturdays. That's 4 years of not reading bedtime stories to my girls. It's heartbreaking to actually go back and the regret I have from being so addicted to it for 4 years. I wish I could just take it all back.
See, I would say that I wish I could take it all back, but I don't, because I've actually got friendships from my vanilla WoW days that are still there to this day.
Good point.
My friend Crystal, who I play League of Legends with every now and again when she actually plays, like I've known her since 2004 when we met playing vanilla Warcraft.
Steve McCrae has joined the chat.
Steve is here. 10 years of WoW, second best PvP mage on his server. I guess that's a fight me moment.
I should have known a mage, a girl's character.
A girl? How is a mage a girl's character?
Okay, well, no. I'm gonna let everybody in on something. Right? Anytime Suris has played a game that has the option of either male or female,
I've picked a female character.
And I go, why do you do that? And he goes, gives me something to look at while I'm playing.
If I'm having to look at something for the next 4 years of my life,
I'm like.
Every time I've asked that question, I get that exact response. I want to. You know what callipygian is? There's a word for you. Callipygian. It means the quality of having shapely buttocks. So, what you want to look at something callipygian or just something, ape-like for the whole time running?
Yeah, my first character was a paladin, or the first character I actually gave a shit about on WoW was a paladin, and he was male. And then I had a hunter that I got to 60. That was a male character. And then past that, I've just had them as female characters because I was like, nah, I'm going to stare at this for literally hours on end per day.
4 years, backstabbing, dual dagger rogue, never played an alt. Played the same rogue for 4 years.
Okay, don't even call mages a girly character, and you're going to play a rogue.
What? Are you kidding?
That's a good point. I still just want to know how you can play WoW if you don't exist.
Is that Steve? I'm not looking at the chat. Is that Steve saying that?
No, that was Mike Caskey. Steve said that paladins used to be uber weak and then they got overpowered. Rogue was fun.
Well, if you know how to play,
sword in the background for Atheist Edge.
Oh yeah, my Scottish. That's not a Scottish claymore. It's in the other room. That's a Norman war sword, 10th century. Battle ready, factory edge.
See, what's funny is that you said that the chat might have things going over their head, but from what I'm seeing in the chat, almost all of them seem to be WoW players or RPGers of some kind.
Okay, cool.
I don't think any of the terminology we're saying got lost anywhere.
Bring Steve in so we can get to the bottom of this, because I got a bone to pick with him anyway. Okay. You know what? Even if I'm wrong, the way he came at me was, I think, a little uncalled for.
Children?
No, I'm not going to get mad. I just want him. I don't even want an apology. I love the guy to death. But I want him to just be aware of the fact that you can't talk to people. Well, you can. It's a free country. You can talk to people that way. I just don't. You don't have to belittle someone and say, "Oh, you don't know what logic means. Or you don't know what we'll get you rational." Man, really? Come on.
Okay. Steve.
It's etymology. See, there's people that don't know the difference between.
Oh, man, Lucifer's here. I'm sorry.
Lucifer Almighty, man.
Why did you make Eve eat the fucking fruit?
Oh, he didn't.
That's
fruit.
Oh, nothing in the Bible says the serpent was Satan.
No, the Bible doesn't say the serpent was Satan. The only mention of the serpent being Satan is in Revelation, thousands of years after Ezra compiled Genesis into the Pentateuch.
And Lucifer, I'm well aware of that. The only references to Lucifer in the Bible were not Satan. It was King Nebuchadnezzar II.
Really?
Yep. It's a misnomer, man. Go back and look at every instance of Lucifer in the Bible. It doesn't mean Satan. It's Nebuchadnezzar.
Huh. I'll have to go through and look at that again. Also, Steve said he would help make him right. Okay, Steve, would you like to join in and perhaps hash this out with Jim? because apparently you two are having a bit of a lover's spat.
This motherfucker.
I mean, am I not wrong though?
We're military. We bust balls, and I just want to know that he's just busting balls. But it came off. It certainly came off like he was belittling me.
I think he's just busting your balls. I've known
cool.
Steve for a little bit.
Yeah, I can read this.
Ball buster.
You read the thread, right?
I read the thread. It really seemed like he was just busting your chops, man.
Okay, fair enough.
The thread pulled up in front of him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the thread is my second screen at the moment. I had it pulled up before we even got into this conversation.
We're not going to get to hate comments. I just have this feeling.
Oh my god! So I think after you two have this conversation, we'll try to get to hate comments. But you know, the last stream I was on got derailed so far that we were talking about excrement and body fluids with bionic dance.
You know, you said bionic dance has still been active, but I haven't. Maybe she's fell off the algorithm because I haven't seen her active in like years.
She's fallen off the algorithm because she only manages to get about 1,000 to 2,000 viewers within the first week of her video being uploaded. That's almost all legacy views.
The last thing I'll say while it's still on my brain about, because my original point with Steve before he comes in is that words have meanings and those meanings can change. And if I personally think the word belief has a religious connotation, well, then it does to me. And if he doesn't, then I can switch in the course of that.
See, at that point,
it's etymology, Chris. And so, okay, let me tell you this. There's etymology and there's entomology, right? Let me see if you understand this. Etymology and entomology. And people that don't know the difference bug me beyond what words can express.
I think reinforcing the meanings there makes the joke not much worse. I honestly do.
Beyond what words can express.
And truthfully, I personally subscribe to the idea that words have no meanings, but they have usages. All words are made up, therefore they have no inherent meanings, but they do have usage.
I've said this before, but the old Zen Buddhist proverb is a finger is needed to point at the moon, but once the moon is seen, the finger is no longer needed. Words are just conveying meanings, and once that meaning's in your head, you can call this. Yes,
but the meaning comes after the word's usage has been ascribed.
Which we agree on definitions, which is chapter 1 of my first book. I write my entire first chapter of my very first book was the importance of agreeing on definitions.
All right, so.
Oh God, here we go.
So it wasn't just good enough for me to send everybody over here. You actually wanted me to come in too.
It's not that I wanted. It's that Jim wanted to apparently have a lover's spat with you.
He doesn't touch me in the way he used to touch me, okay?
Do you mean that metaphorically, literally?
Metaphorically, yeah.
Okay.
No, you still stimulate me. Yeah.
Metaphorically, literally,
metaphorically.
You metaphorically stimulate his mind prostate. There we go.
Oh, perfect.
My mind prostate.
So, okay. Chris, you got you've got the thing up. Oh, let me get to it now. Yeah, I'm not going to go line by line, but I'm just going to. Okay, yeah, I am going to.
I mean, when we did the debate with the theists on the Non Sequitur show, me and Ocean went line by line. We had the conversation and just rehashed it.
Well, I could sum it. I was taking the piss on my Facebook with them because when somebody says they don't believe and they have a believed act, which means they're acting in accordance to what a belief would be, such that they are communicating with me, but at the same time saying they do not believe that I exist, that's a performance contradiction. That is, by definition, being irrational because they're doing something and saying something else, and also they're being irrational because to have like knowledge, to say something like I know you exist and at the same time do not have a belief that I exist is a contradiction. There's a problem there. Well, let me finish. And so when we're talking about rationality, there's no argument from definition when you talk about rationality. You can't say, I'm going to change the word to mean some stipulative thing or some idiosyncratic definition that you wish to have to try to get out of being irrational. Doesn't work that way, because if you want to do that, then you have to allow creationists to do the same thing, and theists, and you don't want a theist to start changing words around because I want this word to mean this, therefore I'm not being irrational. Irrationality is irrationality, and I think that as atheists, they especially need to own up when they're being irrational, because they're the ones trying to take the higher ground, saying, look, we do not believe there's a God, or we have no God belief, whatever you want to go by. And we hold that to be a very rational position. And it is a rational position if they can justify it. You cannot justify holding a position that you know somebody exists, but you do not believe it, because there's no theory of knowledge that accounts for that. None. So to be rational, you have to have a theory of knowledge. That is a requirement for rationality. So unless somebody can provide to me,
you got to break this up into bigger chunks, because I got to either write this down, because I got to refute you on about 3 other things you've already said.
Okay, in a nutshell, there's no theory of knowledge that exists that allows for someone to know something to be true without believing it to be true.
All right, let's stop right there. Okay. Now, let's back up. Before we even get into the meat of it, can we agree that okay, first off, were you just busting balls? Because it didn't sound like it.
No, that was actually straight up. That was epistemology.
Yeah, you said we will help you to become rational. You also said
with a winky face. Did I put a winky face?
Not on that one. And then you said, again, we will help you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed a little condescending.
No.
Well,
to me,
if you were busting balls, we can get into this.
No, so it's busting balls, because look, I'm saying I want to help people be rational. I want everybody to be rational thinkers. And when you're clearly holding an irrational position, I want help. I mean, because you're holding a very irrational position.
Calling me irrational was not one of my objections. It was, we will help you get through this. And this,
I will say
that was taking the piss, because
I will say this.
Yeah.
So, Steve, right, so anyway, when I read through that conversation, it reads to me like every other conversation I have heard between Steve and Kyle.
Yes.
Because Kyle can't stand philosophy.
Exactly.
And it sounds just like the conversation I had with Kyle when it was me, Kyle, and Brilliant Doubt after the theist versus atheist thing. Because I stayed on Skype with them and just shot the shit for about 30 minutes. It sounds like that conversation too, because he had the same frustrations with me as he has with you, because we hold a lot of the same positions when it comes to philosophy, Steve.
Yeah. It's not talking down to. It's not even mocking. It's having fun with, because these things are such bizarre positions to have. It is bizarre to me to have somebody say that I do not exist. And so I have to play with it a little bit, because
I never said you don't exist. I said I don't.
No, but there was a person a few days ago who did.
Okay.
There's been more than one that says they do not believe that I exist. But I asked you, do you believe that I exist? You said you don't.
But you just now in your going back talking about it, you said I said you don't exist. To say someone doesn't exist,
right? You did it. There have been other people.
Okay. But all right. So earlier in that monologue just now, you said that knowledge and belief are one's a subset of the other.
Knowledge is a subset of belief.
You assume that I know you exist. You said I know you exist, but I don't believe you exist, and you said that's irrational, right?
I was specifically more pointing out what's called a performance contradiction, because
at no point did I say I know you exist. But
I was still throwing that out there because that's commonly said. My objection to you is that if you're communicating with me, that's a belief act. Okay, you're acting as a presupposition that I exist, and presupposition is a belief. For all presuppositions are beliefs.
Okay. Now, if we again, first chapter of my first book, I spent an entire chapter talking about the importance of coming to an agreement on definitions. If I said to you, Steve McCrae, I accept that you exist, would that be okay with you?
Yeah, but we're talking about epistemology here. We're not playing some semantic definitional game. There's no way you can be rational. We're talking about rationality, right? Rationality requires certain conditions.
So that's the answer to that question, right?
The answer to that question is you can't just change definitions to be rational.
If all I said was I accept that you exist, that's okay. I'm okay so far, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now, can we agree that that words change over time? Word meanings change over time.
Sure.
If I said, for instance, I have a myriad of magazines on my coffee table, right? what would you come? What kind of meaning would you take away from that? If I told you I had
multiple,
a lot of, right? Would it mean I have exactly 10,000 of them on my coffee table?
Yeah, words change their meaning, but there's
myriad used to mean exactly 10,000.
It used to mean just 10%.
Okay, and
but that's not. I think the argument you're making. One, it borderlines on etymological fallacy. Words today do not have the same meanings that they did a while ago. But we're not talking about. We're not talking about definitions. We are talking about these words have very, very clear things in philosophy. Belief is a philosophical term. Period. It is a philosophical term. It has to do with epistemology, literally. So, what defines knowledge? Well, philosophy defines knowledge. When you know something to be true, is defined by a tripartite thing, which three things is: one, that the proposition is true; that two, you believe the proposition is true; and three, that it's justified to believe that, or that it's produced by reliable mechanism or reliably produced. Because you don't. Do you think that knowledge has to be justified, or can I just say I know something? If I say I know God exists,
it has to be justified. No, it does not.
Okay,
but to be meaningful, it does. Yes.
So to be rational, I can say, I know God exists, but I have no reasons for that. Therefore, I'm rational. Is that okay with you?
I wouldn't say it's rational. I said you can do it. I didn't say it was rational.
Okay, but it's not rational, is it? Because if you're not justifying your beliefs or knowledge, it's not rational.
Correct.
Okay, because that's what justification means. To be justified true belief, that's what require. That is what's one particular theory of knowledge is justified true belief. Another one's called reliably produced true belief.
Okay, to risk going back to an etymological fallacy again, let me just ask you one more question, and that might get us back. Oh, before I say this, Suris, feel free to just cut this off anytime you want, and we can go back. We can start hate comments.
I'm perfectly fine with the fact that I'm drinking tea right now because it means I get to be a meme for this.
No, I'm just saying this is great, but I don't want to make this the entire show. We can do some hate comments later.
He doesn't have anything planned for tonight.
Yes, he's got two more things planned. I know.
My friend Max says this is my favorite conversation to listen to, Steve McCrayen.
Okay, here's the deal.
Thanks,
Steve,
Mac.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Gun to your head, you have to pick three words that are. You have to pick one of three words that are most closely synonymous with belief. And those three words are hoping, knowing, or guessing. Gun to your head, which one do you pick?
I would not. None of them. None of those apply.
Which one is the most closely related?
None of them. You can't just throw questions out like that. They're loaded questions. Belief has nothing to do with faith in epistemology. You're falling. Wait. You're falling into the theist trap. You're literally doing what the theist wants you to do. The theist wants to be on the same level. Listen, Jim. The theist wants to be on the same level as you to be on the same level as them. They want to say, look, I don't know God exists, but I have faith. I believe that God exists. They're equivocating those two terms. You're now saying the same thing. You're equivocating now belief and faith when they're not the same thing.
You've talked to enough Christians. When they say they have faith, that is synonymous with knowing.
No, it's not. No, absolutely.
They're equivocating it with knowing. Yes,
no, they're
not.
Someone in the chat, cut and paste Hebrews 11:1.
Wait a minute. I know a lot of Christians, and not all of them say they know God exists.
Okay, someone cut and paste Hebrews 11:1 in the chat.
They believe or have faith, but not all of them say they have knowledge. Knowledge is a different level.
There's one of them in particular that says that, and I believe that she was thoroughly stepped on in a particular debate that I may or may not have taken part in.
It's very hard to justify those things. Can it be done? Yeah, but again, in order to justify, you have to use a theory of knowledge. That's what justification is.
Let me read Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see.
What does that have to do with belief? Belief is a term used in epistemology.
I didn't bring up faith. You added faith to this conversation.
No, you asked me. You said which word quote was most likely related to belief.
Oh boy!
But you added the word faith to this conversation,
and they're not the same. Correct? Belief and faith are two different things.
To a Christian, it can almost be synonymous.
Hold on.
Why are you allowing the Christians to take over these words?
I'm going to go ahead and
because they're 80% of the population and they dictate word etymology.
No, they do not.
Lovers.
Yeah, they do.
mommy?
You two lovers.
Daddy,
1
mommy,
second.
daddy. You guys are gonna make great parents. You got kids?
No, we have cats. Kids
Same
will
thing.
come later when we're
They're close
financially
enough.
stable enough. Okay, so here's the thing. What's happening is that you two are having different definitions of the words that you're wanting to use, and both of you believe that you are using the correct ones. What I would, if for this particular conversation, I would say that you two would have to agree on a particular definition first of belief.
I think
Exactly.
I think the definitional thing is absolutely a red herring. Absolutely red herring. We're talking about rationality here. Do you agree, Suris, that to be rational, you need to adhere to a theory of knowledge to say something, I know X to be true, or I know P to be true? You need to adhere to a particular theory of knowledge. Is that correct, or justification?
I would believe that. My thing is, though, is I think you guys are getting hung up on the definitions part. And I
don't think the word definition matters to me.
It does. It absolutely does.
Because if these are propositional attitudes, right? If I say I have faith that P is true, that can mean a certain thing. But when I say I believe P is true, that has a specific meaning as a propositional attitude.
If you said you had faith that P is true, what would you mean by that? Could you break it down?
If I had faith it was true, it could mean confidence.
Oh,
like
so
I have faith. I
I
have faith that my daughter would do well in school. I have confidence in her that she has the ability to do well in school. So I have faith in her. I have faith that she'll choose the right thing to do. That she'll be morally, a good person. That's faith. That's a confidence.
Okay, so faith equals confidence or trust.
Yes.
In your estimation. Okay. Now this is just me, and it's many believers out there too. I'm not a believer, but there many believers think of faith as a religious connotation. That's all I've been trying to say.
Sure, and that just means
nobody denies
faith
that.
And that just
and
means
belief
that the
as
term
well.
has been poisoned.
But is
It
that
has been. It absolutely has been. Belief as well. Belief has been poisoned. That
And
word.
But the reason that it's been poisoned is because you're allowing them to poison it.
They are 80% of the population. They dictate.
There are
But in
common parlance.
There's
in
no.
each individual conversation you have with them, though, you can make them accept an actual dictionary definition of the word as opposed to letting them hold on to their own definition.
But do you realize this is a huge topic in philosophy? What it means to know something, and you're just throwing it all away, saying, you know what? I'm just going to give it to the theist and say, you know what? Yeah, belief just means faith.
It's just common parlance. I can come up with a different word.
It's not common parlance when the word belief means something very specific. And to say that you do not believe something, but yet do a belief act is acting irrational.
If 80% of the population accepts the fact that the word belief is
so appeal to popularity. Okay.
Argumenting with word usage, I think that's not justified.
So if 80% of the population are creationists and they want to use theory means guess, you're okay with that. So the theory of evolution is just a guess.
Theory does mean guess. There's two definitions for it.
But in science, but
I have a theory of where I left my car keys this morning.
Colloquial theory is guess. Scientific theory is very different.
Now, if the creationist said I have a scientific theory that X, then we have a problem because that or based on keeping in line with what I was saying, if you choose to use it incorrectly for the purpose of this individual conversation, I will use it incorrectly too. What do you mean by that? Okay, I will adopt that for this particular conversation.
My point is that
I
don't think you would allow a creationist to use colloquial meanings in a conversation when it comes to word theory. If a creationist said the theory of evolution is a guess, you would be up all on that. You would be telling him, no, it's not.
Yes.
If he defined guess as what I think guess is, yes,
no.
I would say he's incorrect.
Because he's using a colloquial meaning to a word that in the context of the discussion, which is evolution, is a biological discussion. It's a science discussion.
And we can have that debate. We could go
There's
ahead and
debate on that.
But what I'm saying is we've agreed on the definition, and that's starting point A. That's the starting point.
Okay, but Jim, I think you're missing the big picture. Everybody understands there's different types of definitions. Everybody understands there's a colloquial and there's a formal. I think everybody gets that. They call it sensu lato and sensu stricto. Okay, nobody that is having these conversations, I think, would allow a creationist to use colloquial definitions when it talks about the theory of evolution. If they said the theory of evolution is a guess, every atheist and every evolutionist and everybody who thinks that the theory of evolution is a well substantiated model with evidence, they're going to jump on that because they're having an equivocation problem. Okay.
Yeah. If he equates it with guess, then we could go from there. Then
Right.
I don't have to remind him that theory has a separate scientific meaning.
Okay.
Because we're already past that. He's already admitted that he thinks evolution is a guess. So we're beyond what theory definition of theory means.
So what does rationality mean? What does it mean to be rational? Because you're changing what the meaning of the word rationality means because you're doing something that's irrational.
The premises have to equal the conclusion.
That's not
boiled down.
That's not rationality. Rationality is having is being able to have a formalization of a position on a proposition and be able to justify it.
Right. Don't the premises have to be non-faulty and
that's soundness.
Have to drive towards the conclusion?
No, that's soundness.
You can have a sound argument, but have the argument not be correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the premises, you can have the premises all be true, and you would have a sound argument, but the premises might just be completely.
For example, oh, sorry.
You go and give your example. You'll be able to explain it better than I can.
For example, there are, Matt Dillahunty got called out for this just recently. As a matter of fact, he had gone on Atheist Experience and had said if there was ever a valid and sound argument for God, everybody would be a theist. There are possible valid and sound arguments for God, but they're not convincing. That's another thing that people kind of throw away to the side. They don't understand there's more than just validity and soundness to an argument. There's also something that's convincing. And I forget who it was, but yeah, I think it was Darwin's Greatest Hits, actually gave a very valid and sound argument, or very valid and sound structured syllogism for the God's existence. But it wasn't convincing, but the premises were true, and it logically followed.
Really? Okay.
That doesn't translate.
If it doesn't meet your criteria, then you can choose to.
Well, it doesn't translate to an ontological thing, and so it has to do with necessity and contingency. But
okay.
But anyways, long story short, you're talking about soundness, and what soundness means is that the premises are true. Okay, so the validity of an argument would be the logical structure, modus ponens or modus tollens, something like that. Those are always valid.
No, it's Wingardium Leviosa.
Not Leviosa.
Not Leviosa. Sorry, Latin.
No.
Go ahead.
But anyways, I think we're kind of getting off the main topic, and the main topic should be more epistemology.
Let me go back to the beginning.
Sure.
When I said I don't believe you exist, I still hold to that. I accept you exist. I could take you and whatever chair you're sitting in right now to the nearest physics laboratory, and I can measure your mass, your density. I could do buoyancy tests. I could spectrometry, and I could. In fact, forget all that. I could just use my 5 senses and tentatively accept that you exist. Now, there's some presuppositions.
So you don't know that I exist then?
Oh, see, now it's getting murky for me.
Why? I know that you exist.
No, to know. Okay, well, based on at least one presupposition, yes, I do know you exist. And no, two. There's two I can think of.
Presuppositions are beliefs. If you don't have beliefs, you can't have presuppositions.
Now we're on to the definition of belief. Let's just stick to this.
No. Again, you keep throwing these back to definitions. You can't just throw out this fallacy to definition things. A belief is something that's assumed prior to a conversation, right? Presupposition
belief
is something
has a religious meaning to me. Is there another word you could use?
It doesn't matter his religious meaning to you. You need to get over that, Jim, because what a theist is going to do is look at you like an idiot. I'm not trying to be derogatory, but if I said to you, this isn't
a great debate community. I don't debate. I've never debated. I have discussions. So when you say that they're going to wipe the floor with me and then they're going to fall into a trap, I'll fall into traps because I'm just having conversations.
I just watched this happen the other day. I literally watched David Smalley
Everyone take a breath.
I'm fine. I just literally watched David Smalley get annihilated by this guy named Alex. And it was pretty bad because David Smalley didn't understand the conversation. He didn't understand the argument, and the theist got the upper hand.
It wasn't Alex Jules, was it?
No, Eric. I'm sorry. Eric Hernandez.
Okay.
Is that his name? Eric something? He was wrong on a few things too, obviously, but he made David. David Smalley did not understand this whole knowledge belief relationship. Because if I just asked you this, do you believe 1 + 1 = 2? And you said no. How do you think that sounds to people?
But when I explain what I
don't have
consider,
to explain. Don't have to explain. Don't explain. Just
I
say
accept that 1 + 1 = 2. Yes.
But now you're dodging it. If I ask you yes or no question, and I expect a direct answer to a direct question, and I say, do you believe 1 + 1 = 2, and you answer no, how do you think that looks to an audience?
If I tell the audience that I equate belief with faith, and faith is knowing without any evidence, and I can say, Steve McRae, I accept you're sitting in that chair, but I can't believe it because I have evidence that you're sitting in that chair. Therefore, I don't need faith or belief.
See, at that point, I would say that personally, I think that if you know something, you also believe it by definition.
Yes.
I believe that Jim is sitting there talking with me. I believe Pam is here, at least in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know those things.
It's just that in the United States in 2018, when people say belief, they're talking about God. They're talking about knowing. They're talking about Hebrews 11:1.
And that's fine for them. It doesn't have to be fine for me, and I don't have to give them that.
We have higher standards. I mean, matter of fact, the whole thing on street epistemology that Anthony Magnabosco is working on is epistemology. So you can't just you can't go by what the theist wants to use the word belief, because belief is used completely different, obviously, in epistemology. So if you're going to be doing you don't do a street epistemology, but anybody who's interested in street epistemology, they have to learn the actual what belief means in the relationship to knowledge.
I'm getting close to trying it out, because I'm on
interesting
Anthony's channels, and he's always trying to get me to do it, and I'm getting closer and closer to actually trying it out, because just 3 years ago I was firebrand, and I feel that I'm becoming way more, what's the word?
You become more moderate. You become more moderate as you experience.
And our whole channel, TJ, TJ, he's a firebrand from hell, and I look at him, it's like looking in the mirror from 3 years ago, and I think I've done a lot of change.
The difference between you and TJ is that you've changed and you've grown.
Yeah, and that's why, Jim, nobody's being demeaning to you at all. Trust me, we love you. I mean, I love the Atheist Edge, and I adore you. And when I'm saying that we really want to help you, we mean that very sincerely. I think that you don't reflect on how it looks when you say certain things. And I obviously want atheists to have better arguments, right? I want them to look better in the eyes of people. Not when people.
What if I said this, Steve? I know what you mean by belief, and for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to adopt your definition, and let's have a discussion now. And then at the end of the discussion, I go back to my quirky little definition of belief based on 80% of the United States, what they think it is. Then just let me do it.
No, that's fine for you, but it's not the 80% of the United States. It's anybody who's in academics is going to use the word belief the way I do. Anybody, and so I promote good academics, right? Science, especially. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And so I have to be consistent with that, and I hold people to the same standard. Look, if you're going to promote good science, then you need to promote good philosophy too. Now, granted, I'm a layperson. Nobody should ever come to me expecting any kind of expertise in any of these things. I make that very clear. Yeah,
I'm not watching the chat. Am I getting hammered big time on the chat?
No, I'm not. There's actually a completely separate conversation happening in the chat.
They're talking about. They're talking.
I just had this feeling I'm getting hammered.
No, they're talking about boobs. Everybody's talking about boobs.
Oh, that's always a good subject.
No, they're not. But no, I think most people do agree with me on this. But it's okay. Like I said, I do know enough to at least explain things, and that's kind of my forte a little bit. By the way, that's actually pronounced fort, but nobody actually does kind of fort. But
I will never use the word fort for that. I will always use fort.
I know, because they look at you like you're an idiot.
For the same reason that I pronounce it GIF, not GIF. Fight me.
I agree. No, I agree.
That's correct. And awful used to mean the exact opposite of what it means now. It was full of awe.
But that's one of those one-offs. Like, for example, Suris, you and I both know that the word is pronounced fort with a hard T. It's not my fort. But you never hear people say that. And so when somebody actually does say that, they'll look at you like, no, you mean forte. And you're like, no, if I meant forte, which actually means music, to get stronger in music, I would say forte. But it's one of those things that's so commonly accepted now, you might as well say forte.
Do you see how this ties in line with our conversation, right? And you see how you just conceded.
Right, because in this particular case, and I did this for example. No. I did this very specifically. Look, there are some instances, right? Forte is not in a particular field. It's not a philosophy. It's not science. That is common parlance.
A pronunciation of a word as opposed to adhering to a definition.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, and I actually have there's a few people in here from a chat that I'm on in Kick, which I haven't been on as much as I should be. But it's actually like where I started growing my channel was on Kick, literally on a debate chat in Kick. The person who actually introduced me or sent me to meet Steve on Facebook for the first time is actually in here, and I met them through Kick. But in there, it's nothing but real-time conversations with theists. There's a bunch of religious debate chats you can get in there, and it's all real-time conversations. Seeing those conversations get muddled in semantics and equivocation so often because people just want to talk over each other and be right, whether or not they are actually right. I've learned that most of the time you just have to go with whatever a working definition is, whether or not you want to agree with it. You have to find a working definition for that particular point. But at the same time, I've also seen a lot of different terminology get poisoned, like the word theory. When I say theory, I'm just saying theory, but I also say like theory of evolution or theory of gravity or anything like that. I'm just saying that. I don't have to say scientific theory because the other person knows, because I have said theory of insert scientific term here, they know it's a scientific theory. But because it's been poisoned as guess and only guess by theists, I have to have that conversation every single time that no scientific theory doesn't do that. And I've seen it happen literally. You can see it happen in real time thousands of times per day. And it's unfortunate, but I've just taken the habit of every single time I enter a conversation, what is your working definition of this word? Okay, either I accept that definition or I won't. And if I don't, then I'll give them mine and say, accept this one because this is the correct one. If I say my definition of scientific theory is this is what the scientist's definition of scientific theory is, and they still want to say guess, then I will say one of two things. Either you're wrong and you're a fuckwad, or this conversation's over because you can't accept something rationally. Two
things on that. One, I think most people know going into a conversation there are multiple definitions. However, not always, because when I tell people, like for example, the word atheist, what is used in philosophy, right, which is a belief that theism is not true or ontologically there are no gods. That's a true statement. That in philosophy, that is what atheism means. Now, you don't have to accept that definition. You can reject it. You can say, I don't want to use formal definitions. That's fine. But it doesn't take away the truth that in philosophy, that's what that word means. Period. That is not something that is debatable. You can't say in philosophy, that's not what it means. That's wrong. In philosophy, that's what the word means.
Which is why I'll still say repeatedly, I'm a colloquial atheist, philosophical agnostic.
And I know what you mean by that. But there's a difference between saying that's not what it means in philosophy as opposed to I understand what it means in philosophy. I just don't use that definition.
I'm working with the colloquial atheist, philosophical agnostic. That's what you say?
He says he's a colloquial,
I'm a colloquial atheist, philosophical agnostic.
And you're cool with that moniker, Steve?
Oh yeah, he would be spot on with that. Yeah,
okay. And I use that for two reasons. One, it prevents me from getting into pedantic arguments with Steve. Kidding.
I'm not a pedant.
The main reason that I do that is because it prevents somebody from inserting their definition of atheism on me.
Right.
Because if I were a philosophical atheist and they wanted to equate me with a lack of belief atheist or a colloquial agnostic, I would be I would not really be offended, but I would be kind of pissed because now the conversation is getting very muddled and I would have to go, no, you're straw manning me. That's not my position.
That's exactly my case. Yes.
Much like right now, when I say I am a philosophical agnostic but a colloquial atheist, if somebody says, so you're asserting that God doesn't exist, where's your proof? I'm not asserting your God doesn't exist. Don't you fucking do that.
And you hit the nail on the head on that one. See, that's the whole thing. Look at everybody can define themselves the way they want, and you define yourself perfectly, right? If you say that you're a colloquial atheist, a philosophical agnostic, I know exactly what you mean by that. I know where you stand now. It makes sense, right? That's perfectly fine to do. But again, the argument one is when people say, for example, if I said to Jim, in science, theory doesn't mean a well-substantiated body that explains and predicts. If I said that to be the case, you would say that's not true. In science, that's what that word means, right?
Okay. What are you telling me now? In science, what?
If I said the words theory in science does not mean a well-substantiated body of facts that explains and predicts, which, a shortened version of the definition, you would say, no, you're wrong. In science, that's a theory is a well-substantiated body of evidence.
If our conversation depended on that being the definition and you refused to accept it, all that happened, it's just a showstopper. We couldn't move forward. You would have to bend and change, at least temporarily, your definition for the purposes of the conversation.
But there's a difference between not accepting the definition and not accepting that it is the definition in the particular field.
Okay, let's discard the word theory and just go with that long definition, and have to. It would get tedious, but we could use that long definition every time we brought it up instead of the word theory.
But that would make the conversation very
unwieldy.
Yeah, and unwieldy. But yes, it's a workaround though, right?
But do you see the difference between an argument by saying that isn't the definition in science, or as opposed to that is the definition in science, but that's not how I'm going to use the word? Two different things.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
and belief might mean something in a philosophy book, and it might be something completely different than the way I use belief. I'm using belief the way I think it's meant to be used, according to the majority of the populace that I live with, and based on their understanding of the Old Testament.
And let me show you the problem with that, because most theists, matter of fact, this theist the other day that I had watched, it was an old discussion, but the theist, his name's Eric Fernandez, I think, and he was talking to David Smalley. He was trained in epistemology. He was using the word belief as I use it, and he's a theist. And I think that a lot of theists are now becoming more educated properly in these terminologies, and they're becoming more formidable because of it.
Oh yeah, because nowadays, have you noticed just in the last maybe decade, theists are abandoning this knowing without any evidence type of faith, and they're going after the reasons that demand a verdict, or evidence that demands a verdict.
A lot of like your William Lane Craigs go.
Well, yeah. As a matter of fact, we're going to be having a discussion on Reformed epistemology here soon, and it's going to be on my channel because Kyle didn't want to have it on the Non Sequitur show, which is fine. We're going to have Cameron, who's capturing Christianity, and probably going to have the Realistic Nihilist, I think. But we are going to be talking about Reformed epistemology, which is Plantinga's version of how to justify being rational for theism, right? Now, you could argue whether it is a valid justificatory reason. That's fine. It's up for discussion. Mm-hmm. But I think now what's happening is because you have the William Lane Craigs, because you have the Plantingas, theists are actually taking it to the next level. And I don't see atheists moving up with them. And that's going to be a problem.
For the most part, I think another problem that we're having is that some of the theists that we do have, they're like known for their debates as well, not necessarily just Dillahunty, but like Lawrence Krauss, for instance. I think Lawrence Krauss is kind of an awful debater.
He gets his ass handed to him when it comes to philosophy.
Like when Lawrence Krauss goes into a debate and he uses argument from authority, he uses argumentum ad hominem a lot, especially with William Lane Craig. He started the whole thing out with nothing but ad hominem.
Poisoning the well. I have seen him do quite a few things.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because I'm seeing that and I'm like, the things you're saying are not wrong, but because you're using them in a philosophical debate, you're getting your ass handed to you because they're all fallacies. They're all fallacies of epistemology.
Yeah, exactly. Craig is a professional apologist. He knows these things. Now, I think he placates to his audience. Don't get me wrong. William Lane Craig, he don't give a shit whether his arguments are good or bad. He just wants to win the debate.
Yeah, and he uses several bad arguments in order to win. If he knows that somebody that he's talking to, like if he knows that he's here and the person he's talking to is here, he knows he can get away with fallacies, and he will.
Yes. You notice how he ends all his debates the same way. He always appeals to his preconceived notion, his personal, anecdotal relationship with God, and he works backwards. He reverse engineers. He admits it. He retrofits his entire argument. That's not
necessarily a fallacy, though.
I know it's not a fallacy, but he does it.
It's not a good way to do epistemology.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. No, nobody would think.
I have to throw this in. Someone said Steve's beard sure as fuck exists.
Goddamn right it does. Goddamn right.
There's one thing that William Lane Craig does in every single one of his debates that bothers me is that when he hears something that is true and is damning, whether it's a fallacy or not, but it is an actual like true statement that is damning that hits him, he does this. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
No.
Every person he does that. He looks at the audience and he goes, Like, look at this guy, like trying to distract from the argument, especially when they're true and damning.
That could be. I mean, like I said, he doesn't care about the truth. He cares about winning the debate.
The Kalam has the faulty premise. It falls apart. Go ahead.
What's that? There's two arguments that he has that I think are decent. William Craig. One, I agree with him wholeheartedly in the presupposition of atheism by Anthony Flew. His paper in 1971 was crap, and he dismantles it, and he does a very effective job. So I do think William Lane Craig is absolutely right. The presupposition of atheism is bullshit. The other argument he has, I'm not necessarily saying it's convincing, but at least it's a structured argument, and that's his argument dealing with middle knowledge. Are you familiar with that, Suris?
That one I'm not familiar with completely, no.
The way middle knowledge works is this: is try to get around God's omnipotence, and basically the way it's formulated is that God has this middle knowledge such that He knows what you're going to do in situation X, and He knows what you're going to do in situation Y. And so, if He wants a particular outcome to happen, He will put you in. He'll create a modal ontological possible world to put you in situation X rather than situation Y, knowing that,
as opposed to being a full-on omnipotent puppeteer.
Exactly. It's a form of modalism, I believe. And so
I can at the very least agree that that's sound.
Yeah, it's not exactly like a bullshit argument. Whether it's true or not, it's ridiculous, a whole different ball game, but it's actually an interesting argument.
If you accept that Yahweh is real, the argument is sound.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. But the other ones that he talks about, I don't find any, like the Kalam that you had mentioned, Jim. The Kalam is a logical argument. It's logically valid. There's no question about that.
Premise one is faulty.
Well, you can attack premises for sure, but the problem with the Kalam is the word cause. Okay, for example, if you don't even subscribe to
begins to exist is faulty.
Well, okay, whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, therefore the universe had a cause. That's the Kalam. Right,
and the phrase "begins to exist" is it's a non sequitur.
JMD says it's modalism. Yeah, I thought it was modalism. Yeah, thank you, JMD. Yes, what I was telling you was was called modalism. But yeah, well, begins to exist means a whole bunch of different things.
No, it's an assumption that the universe began to exist. And I have always told theists, tell me if this is a good argument, but I've confronted them with this. I said, tell me a time, and the key word here is time. Tell me a time in history when the universe did not exist. And they'll say, oh, well, they'll give a myriad of possible explanations, but
exactly 10,000 possible explanations.
They will give 10,000 explanations, but Jim, we cannot come up with a time.
When did you begin to exist?
Zero, the singularity. I began to exist the same time every other atom began to exist. Now, if you want to say I am the collection of these atoms in this particular order, then I began to exist in 1967.
Yeah. See, but again. Okay, there's two things going on. There's one that's called reductionism, and the other one's a grounding problem. Okay, so if I take a reductionist approach to the beginning of everything, right? If that's the case, there's nothing wrong with saying, the universe had a beginning, because at a certain time of mathematically, we cannot put GR and quantum loop gravity together. We have no idea what's going on. There wasn't a universe as we know it, so to speak, right? So if you say prior to the inflationary period, that whenever after that, that's the beginning of something.
No, let's back up. Let's back up to the singularity. That is something, right?
No, the singularity is a mathematical construct. I don't even look at the singularity as a physical thing.
But at t equals 0, was there something? Yes or no?
Quantum fluctuations existed.
Oh, so something existed.
Yes, called metastable false vacuum.
The first premise in the Kalam is everything that begins to exist.
But the universe didn't exist at the time. A metastable false vacuum is not the same as
the premise doesn't have the word universe in it. It only has anything that begins to exist as a cause.
I think at this point you'd have to figure out if when they say anything, did they mean? Are they working with the universe or are they working with the cosmos? Because those are two very different things.
But the universe falls into that, right? The universe is a thing, right?
And the universe would
the
fall.
Quantum fluctuations are a thing too, right?
But it's not asking it's not asking what's the beginning of the quantum fluctuation. It's asking, it's saying that anything has a beginning, has a cause.
You've heard Christians say over and over on every debate channel and every social media platform, how can something come from nothing? And
Totally different thing.
Really?
Don't conflate those things. Look at this. The word nothing, okay, in science means something very specific. Well, actually, it could actually mean a couple of different things. It can mean like 5 or 6 different things. It means void of matter. It can be void of energy or matter. It can be void of matter, energy, space, time. It can be matter, energy, space, time, 10 dimensions. There's a lot of different things that nothing can mean. Okay, but in philosophy, nothing means nothing. It means literally the absence.
It means quantum particles are not bouncing in and out of existence.
Doesn't mean that. Right, exactly.
Yeah, but we got to go back to word definitions now. Etymology. What do Christians mean when they say it, though?
You place too much value on this definitional stuff.
No, what the person that's saying it, what do they mean when they're saying it?
You have to ask them. They could mean either one. And if they mean ex nihilo, would they mean that physical nothing, like philosophy? Then that's a different story. For example, have you heard the adage, from nothing, nothing comes?
Yes.
That's bullshit. Okay, there's nothing illogical about something coming from nothing.
I'm saying when a believer says something can't come from nothing, we all know what they mean.
Well, no, we don't. I've talked to many people.
They have different working definitions.
Yes.
That's why you have to ask in the beginning of the conversation.
Agree on definitions? Yes. Okay.
You just say define nothing. What is your definition of nothing? And if they say, I think nothing is a vacuum. If they just say, okay, I think nothing is a vacuum, cool. We know things come into existence in vacuums all the
correct.
Time.
Yes. But in his book, in chapter 9, it literally is entitled Nothing is Something. But when we're talking about literally the absence of everything, there's this notion that it's illogical that something can come from nothing. Yet there's nothing illogical about it, because if you think about it, if you have nothing, you have no properties. You have nothing to prevent something from coming from nothing. You have nothing to cause it either. There's nothing to even have anything to do anything, vice versa. So it's not illogical. It's just difficult for us to conceive because we always think of observations, and to us, it doesn't make sense, but it's not illogical. But here's the kicker. We've never discovered nothing. We don't even know if nothing is even possible. We have no idea. We do not know.
And from what I can tell, and Jim, if I'm strawmanning you, Jim, please catch me on it. I want to do my very best not to, but it seems, and I've heard you say it several times now. You say when theists or when Christians or when you are painting with a broad brush and assuming that they're all using the same language, but they're not. Mm-hmm.
Can you give me a specific instance in just the last, I don't know, a couple of months when you've heard a Christian say something cannot come from nothing and not mean ex nihilo?
It depends on the theist.
Yeah, but you know what? When they say that, you can tell them they're wrong on that, because this is how you defeat them when they say that. If a theist is telling you something cannot come from nothing, and they say that it's illogical, ask them to give you a proof.
That's what I'm getting at. We're agreeing. So I think we're talking past each other, because premise 1 of the Kalam assumes that there was once nothing. We don't know what nothing is.
That is not what the Kalam is assuming. Okay,
the Kalam I don't know how it's not.
The Kalam is saying that as this goes to the principle of sufficient reason. Anything that begins to exist has a reason why it began to exist. Has a reason
for why. That implies a divine intelligence.
No, it does not. The principle of sufficient reason is that everything has an explanation for why something exists. Okay, it's the PSR has many.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying now.
But there's one aspect of it is that anything that has an existence, there has to be a reason why it came into being, why it exists, an existential thing. So when it's saying that the universe began to exist, what was the cause for the reason why the universe is here? That's what the Kalam is really kind of asking. Now,
is that the how?
Not how, the why. Uh-huh. Why is there a universe as opposed to no universe? That's what the PSR is asking. And the PSR actually applies to either. The PSR actually would be like, why is there a universe as opposed to not a universe? And why is it there's not other universes?
And I would say the correct answer to that in almost every situation is I don't know, but neither do you.
That's fine. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer. But it is interesting that the PSR, it equally applies to why things do exist and why do not exist. Why are there not purple flying unicorns? Well, there should be a reason for that. You know,
I think there's one that's currently sharding out morality over our moon right now. But that's just me.
Steve, do you? Hey, I've got an idea. It's just I'm going to throw it at you, both of you, and you just throw it right back if you don't like it. But
Sure.
I was going to maybe start hate comments, which
Yeah,
is what we intended to do. And while I'm reading off some of mine, maybe you can dig into your 4,000 channels and find some nasty
Oh,
ones
I can
too.
probably find some hate.
Okay.
He doesn't
So
even have to go to those channels. He just has to like look at the last few posts in the Great Debate community. I'm sure he'll find something.
Yeah, really. I just look at my live chat from my
Like,
last.
You've got the I remember a while back you had that guy that was like using the pre-recorded stuff from Nightmare on Elm Street. And any single time like the videos is just somebody going, "Okay, Steve McGay."
Yeah, I don't know. These like I said, I give them as about well, I don't give them even a second of my time any longer. So yeah, I completely ignore all that crap.
use the soundboard.
It's just people that aren't even worth my time. I'm obviously trying to create something, and we're all working hard to promote things. And I have a rule: either support me or just get out of my way. I don't need to be, I don't need people like attacking me, right? I mean, it's like it doesn't do me any good, so I just ignore them. I have no reason to respond to them. I have no reason to engage with them. It just doesn't matter to me.
Have I showed you my?
Like I have one guy, and actually, if Melly is still in here, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. There's a guy named Musa. He gave me my first official death threat for
Nice.
talking about Islam, of course. And if again, I don't know if Melly is here listening still, but now whenever I see him, I'm just like, nobody wants to listen to you, and I just give him a smiley face. That's pretty much the end of my conversation with him now. Because I'm like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I know that you think that I deserve death for criticizing your religion. But the two things that I've told him is, one, it doesn't matter, and two, your religion's not special. I criticize all the ones I think are bad.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but if you have to threaten death to somebody for denouncing your religion, you've got a pretty shitty religion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can.
Melly is in here. He can attest that.
You report it?
The trick.
Suris?
What's up?
Did you report it?
Oh no, it was on Kick. It's not on here or anything.
Yeah, but is there a way to report it on that?
Not that I'm. Well, you can report to the manager of the chat room, but it doesn't actually go to like anything past that.
My channel doesn't delete, censor, block, ban anything, but I would report it.
I would.
Mine doesn't. I don't have mine set to do any of that either. In fact, actually, when I find hate comments in my spam area, I just turn them on anyway.
Now,
on the off chance I find them.
I'm looking at my comments, but they're all nice so far. Congrats on the 5,000 subscribers, Steve.
Oh,
that kind of stuff.
I am remiss, Suris. I should have said this up front, but congratulations on 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, sir.
Thank you.
Congrats.
It was a lot of people working hard to get me there, not just me.
That's awesome.
Kyle and Steve mentioned it on the Non Sequitur show, and that helped push it right up past the point.
I love helping channels out. I really, honestly do.
How many channels get 1,000 subs in their first 4 months?
A lot of them nowadays, because we have such a big group.
Yeah.
That we all support each other, and that was the goal of the Great Debate community from the beginning. Is that when we have new channels, we get them started, we get them a leg up, and I figured 1,000 is a good base to get people. And because you know damn well, getting to 1,000 prior to having a group like this was goddamn difficult.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now we have a group that we can start with somebody who has a great channel, and we can start them off with at least 500 people, maybe to 1,000 pretty quickly. And I think that's something to be said for the power of the Great Debate community and the skeptic community. That's empowerment, people. You guys have power.
I went from 100 to 300 right after my collaboration with Zod. And then after I did my, I got a shout out from Telltale Atheist after the Faithless Forum, and that shot me above 700.
Nice.
And then I think I didn't get a lot from the collaboration with Cosmological, but our channels are about the same size, so I didn't expect that. I just wanted to make sure that he had something on his channel because he's been busy with school. He hasn't been able to put videos up on his channel at all. So it's just like, hey, send me your audio. I will do all of the building. It's the same thing that happened with his April Fool's video. He ended up falling asleep at his computer for his April Fool's video about a Vice Rhino. And I just messaged him on Twitter, and I was like, hey, you and I have the same style. All I need is your avatar. I'll build your April Fool's video for you as long as you can send me your audio, and I'll get it set out so you can actually get it out on time.
That's cool.
That's nice of you.
And it's the same thing like when Godless Cranium wanted his he was like, hey, does anybody know how to do the Star Wars intro? I was like, I don't know how, but I'll learn. And I built his Star Wars intro for him and sent it to him.
But that's what it means to pay it forward, right? And that's exactly like calling out new channels and giving them a heads up. That's paying it forward. I got called out, Telltale Atheist and the Living Dinosaur, King Crocoduck. And so I want to pay it forward now, even though my channels are not that big, but they're getting there. The non sequitur, I think, is going to be pretty large pretty quickly.
It's been growing at a stupidly fast rate ever since the Hovind debate. Ever since the debate with Hovind and Aaron Raw, that channel's been spiking up.
Do you want to know a true story? You're going to love this. This is an absolute true story. Do you guys know Social Blade?
Yes.
Okay. Now Social Blade can have your partnerships, right?
Yes, it has the same, almost the same requirements that YouTube does.
Yeah, and just to check it out, we checked. We're asking about it, and they came back and they said your channel's under review because of suspicious activity, because they said that the only way you could get to the level that you're at with the amount of views and subs would be a 0.01% without using bots or cheating.
That is awesome.
And they have to do
the live chat and prove that you didn't do that.
They did an internal audit and they came back and said everything's fine. You guys are legit.
The marketing on the non sequitur, though, the thumbnail art and the titling, I think that goes a long way too. Whoever's doing your thumbnails, that's Kyle, that is right on, man.
I might need to get with Kyle about helping me get because I want to get Streamlabs set up so I can eventually start using Skype for like a podcast or something at some point. Originally, I had a goal set up on my Patreon that at $250 I'd be able to take a day off of work guaranteed in order to make sure that I could do a podcast. Now, of course,
I was going to say now you have a lot of days off. I don't want to.
Now, of course, that's not a limiting factor. So I'm thinking I'm going to expedite that process.
Full disclosure: I'm trying to get Suris to move to Dallas Fort Worth, just so everyone knows.
I actually really want to as well, because for one, I know that I want to watch bad theist movies with genetically modified skeptic. It's something we talked about at the forum, and I can't do that unless I'm
Paradise Lost. That would be fun.
Dallas is like the hub. I mean, we've got all the big names within 3 hours any direction. We got the atheist community of Austin, Matt Dillhoney, all them down in just 3 hours south. And then 3 hours north, we got Seth Andrews. We got here in town, we got genetically modified. We got Aaron Raw. We got a whole plethora, a myriad of big name theists.
And Aaron has made a claim that he needs to substantiate the next time that I'm there in Texas. He's made a claim that he can make the absolute best steaks.
I bet he can.
Of anybody. And I'm going to personally ask him to substantiate that claim.
Damn right.
Don't get in a drinking contest with Texas craft beers.
I can go ahead and tell you that there's literally no chance that I'm going to get into a drinking contest.
And by the way, I wanted to add on the the non sequitur. The reason Kyle and I say this all the time to him and other people, the reason why we work is because we have so much difference between us that we have a good synergy. That what he lacks, that I think that he lacks, I have, and when I lack, he has. Like, I have no creativity. I couldn't even begin to do the artwork he has.
No, and he manages to pull that stuff off like it's nothing, and he does it
exactly
every day.
Exactly. So we bring different things to the table, and I think because of that, because what I am weak in, he's strong in, and what he's weak in, I'm stronger in. That makes for a good show. That's the way I look at the non sequitur, and that's the feedback that I get from almost everybody. Is that because we have such a dichotomy between us, it works. If we just both have the same
all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh, you should see. You saw us off air.
Oh, I know. I do see you guys off air. I'm in a lot of your guys' like groups that are just like the one with me, you, Shannon, and Goblin Cranium, and Kyle, and like in that group, I see you two shit each other. Believe me.
He has a very
Steve, you're on this verge of hitting a level of greatness that I don't know if you're fully prepared for yet. Because I mean, we're talking mainstream media outlets.
Oh no!
In the near future. Not a platform, but like to get called on.
He'll do it.
I you know what? I've had people say that, and honestly, I'm not trying to be disparaging. I'm not trying to be humble. I just don't see it at that level. Now, maybe I'm just limiting, but I don't see that. I have short-term projections that's not included in anything. I don't think I have the skill set for that level, but people have said that maybe you know, you'll be asked to be interviewed on certain of these other things. And I tell you, I'm happy to be interviewed on the channels I've been interviewed on.
Let me put it in context for you.
I love that.
The Amazing Atheist has been on CNN, so yeah.
I don't think I'd be comfortable with that, though.
Well,
I mean,
true, but if you think about it, though, when the landscape is a little different now than when TJ got on CNN. Because when he got on CNN, if you watch that entire broadcast, it was mainly them wanting to rip TJ apart.
Yeah,
I think they brought him on there. Actually.
It seemed like they brought him on there to be sort of a pariah.
But could you imagine someone like Steve on there instead of I don't like name calling, but someone like TJ Kirk? You know, can you imagine Steve on there? I could. Totally.
I would rather have. I honestly, and I mean it sincerely, I'd rather watch somebody like Holy Kool-Aid do those kind of interviews.
I think that Thomas would actually be.
He's
really
a good face for this stuff. Yeah, he's a really good spokesperson.
I don't know if he can handle conflict as well as you can, though.
That may be true. I mean, I try to be able to handle conflict because I've been through a lot of conflict, and so conflict. All my life, I've had to be in customer service, and you know as well as I, customer service is a pain in the ass. Military, you understand conflict. You have conflict resolution. Now, the way I resolve things isn't the same as other people, and some people don't like that, which is fine. But we
conflict resolution in the Marine Corps is just making the other party room temperature.
It's kind of true, though. You're not trying to get both of you to be the same temperature. You're just trying to get them to a manageable level.
JMD Apologetics asked me if I want to come on his channel. Yes, absolutely. I like, for example, I was on the Godless Iowans channel the other night, and I was not feeling well.
Yeah,
and I still loved it.
Did you guys even know he existed maybe 2 months ago? Did he just pop up out of nowhere?
About 2 or 3 months ago.
His channel and my channel started around the same-ish time. That's why Don set us up as rivals.
He went from 0 to hero in like no time at all.
But see, I like that. Look at when you have these newer channels that have something of value to say, that adds something to the community, that brings something to the table. Why not promote them? Yeah. Look at this narrative that there's a zero-sum game, that if somebody loses subs, somebody gains them, doesn't exist. And so I have said from the beginning, even with the formalization of the Great Debate community on G+, was that a rising tide lifts all boats. I'm happy to promote other channels. I don't see that as taking away anything from mine. Now, I understand there's only so much Patreon. I get that. But look, if somebody wants to support somebody else's channel, go for it, okay? I think it's arrogant and egotistical to say, I'm going to keep people just to myself so they can only support my channel. Fuck that bullshit.
And that's really dumb. It's the reason why when we see people like Skeptic Pork and Atheistic Snail, they're smaller channels, but they've recently been able to breach the 100 mark because we're, not just because we're promoting them, they make okay content as well, but they're getting promoted by other people. Iowan's been promoting them. I promoted them in one of my videos. I've seen other smaller channels promote them, and sometimes I've seen him in a few things. Pikachu the Atheist, he's a super small channel. But he promoted me a little bit early on, even though I was bigger than him, and I got a subscriber or two from it. That's the other thing that I've noticed, is that sometimes if I've got 1,000 subs and you have 1,000 subs, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have cross-pollination.
Right.
At all.
Right.
Sure.
And here's the urban myth. I hit 1,000. I don't think anything happens, but I heard at 10,000. Is it? Yeah. What is Great Debate? Oh, okay. But also, does YouTube? I hear they send you a framed.
They send you a silver button.
Not 10,000. At 100,000, you get a button.
Oh well, fuck me.
Yeah,
that's never gonna happen. All right.
You get silver at 100,000.
Okay.
They send you stuff eventually.
I'm not gonna say the non sequitur can never get to 100,000, but
it will. I firmly. I don't believe it. I accept it.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I like to think so. I don't think my channel obviously ever will. I'm happy at 5,000. If I break 10,000, I'll be ecstatic. But the vehicle I want to promote is the non sequitur show. The problem is the non sequitur show right now is non-profitable because YouTube is just dragging their goddamn feet on monetization right now.
Yeah, I still haven't. I meet all my requirements, and they said now. First they said the end of April, now they said the end of May, and now they're saying the end of June.
I know. I'm in the same boat. We're in the same boat. And I mean, this is all public information. If you go to the Social Blade, we're losing out. If it says 1,000 a month, I figured it's usually about 60%, 70% of that is what I kind of do the math. So even if it was $600 a month that channel's worth, that's $300 a month between Kyle and I we're missing out on.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's enough. Honestly, $300 a month is enough to feed yourself.
It's heartbreaking that I was
that's what I make now.
Yeah, we were both once monetized. Before the apocalypse, we were both monetized, and then, you know, I didn't make 1,000 in time by February 20th, and so now I'm in the boat with all the other little fish trying to get back in it.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's important for two things. It's important for one, if you are, and I'm not saying this to support me. Honestly, there's better people than me. I'd rather Non Sequitur Show get some of this as well, because there's way more work being put into that than on my channel. But if you have a creator that you want to support, there's two ways you can do it. You can either A, make sure that you shout them out on social media, make sure that you help word of mouth spread them around, and B, send them $1 or $2 on Patreon if that's applicable. If you're able to, and it's not going to hurt your funding, do that. Like Steve was saying, there's how many hours are going into the Non Sequitur Show every week?
Oh God,
I would say between the two of you, maybe 120 each.
Well, I don't. It's not that much, but I mean, I spend hours doing the research on each topic. Like, for example, I don't like to go into these things blind, so I at least study up on the topic per se.
Okay, so maybe 2 hours?
Yeah, at least 2 hours prep work, and also, you know, we have to make the event. We have to context the people. We have emails coming in all the time. We're constantly in correspondence with people. I'm always trying to get new guests, and as soon as I land somebody, what I do is I send them over to Kyle, and he does the scheduling.
Yes. Okay. So
I would be like, hey, Kyle, you have this person that's going to contact you for this. You know.
Well, the thing is that if you're doing that, that's more than full-time work. A lot of the time you are still working, even if you're doing the semantic stuff. You're putting in all that time, and you're trying to make something, and YouTube is screwing you and throwing you guys through the muck while you're trying to build something. That's why something like Patreon is really important. Because you guys are putting in all that work. You're putting in enough work for it to be a full-time job, if not more.
Yeah, and you're at 1,000 subs, but you still the other requirement is 4,000 hours viewed per month. And full disclosure, we're doing as many live shows as possible because that really pads out the amount of hours watched. But Suris still needs 2,000 more hours watched to meet that requirement. Correct?
Yes. Before I can even start doing my uphill battle.
Applying for AdSense, yeah. So he needs 2,000 more hours. Okay.
Wow.
Hate comments.
I think I've only had like 2 live streams on my channel not counting the one with not counting the last one that was 4 hours long and way too long. And this one, I only had 2 other live streams because it was the one with WK Dad and the scheduled one with the person who broke my first code. And then I've got one with Chaosism that's scheduled for tentatively next week because he broke the second code. But aside from that, I haven't had scheduled live streams. It's strictly been 5 and 6 minute long videos.
Those views. I mean, subs you can probably get. The views are critical. The views are critical.
The total number of hours watched. That's the only other requirement.
Yeah, but for a lot of channels, that's very difficult. Now, the Non Sequitur, we had that within a couple days.
Yeah,
but
it's all live streams. It's all like several hour long.
So let's do a hate comments. You read one and then I read one because
you found some? Cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm not going to say who they're from. I'm just going to read them.
Don't give the name.
All right. Here's 2 fucking goofs that I'm not going to do it in Godless Engineer's voice. So bear with me. Here's 2 fucking goofs that believe the Earth is a fucking spinning ball. Grow a brain.
Oh god.
Oh, flurfers, aren't they great? They love to spam videos.
Flurfs are great.
Yep.
It's also great about flurfs. They can't agree on a working model of the world.
None of them. They don't have one. Sorry.
Go Steve.
I love this comment. This comment's great. I won't say the name, but I'll tell you the video it's on. G-Man's epic meltdown.
Oh god.
And this comment was, G-Man verbally decapitated Steve McRae. Steve, you must have felt defeated here. Be honest.
For G-Man to verbally decapitate anybody, there would have to be a mindless slug.
I'm fucking dying. I'm actually gonna turn off my camera for that. I'm actually seriously laughing my ass off on that one.
All right.
Horrible. Also, I see that Steve is now on camera.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah,
hey, Pam.
I didn't do my hair today, so sorry.
That's fine. My hair is almost never done.
All right, here we go. Why do let me preface this. Do you guys frequent the debate channels on Facebook and other social media platforms? And what is it with Christians? Why can they not understand that? Here's a little pro tip for you. If you're talking to all atheists, if you want to make a word plural, you can add S to the end of the word. So here we go. Why do retard atheist, like he's talking to just one, I guess, waste their whole life talking about a God they don't even believe exists? Not exists, exists.
So one, they can't even get it grammatically correct. Right. Two, they don't understand that one, there are atheists that just don't care. There are atheists out there that do not give a shit. And then there are atheists that say, actually, there's harm being done. I want to say something about it.
There you go. And I think that's the critical part. Look at, I do believe this sincerely, and I hope I'm right on it. I may not be, but I do think that if most atheists, if it was just theists saying, "Hi, I have a God belief," and they did their thing, and they didn't get involved in secular type things, most atheists probably wouldn't care. I think most atheists are out there advocating against a belief in God, or at least talking about these topics, merely because the encroachment of things like creationism in schools.
Yes.
And things of that nature. Because that to me
how
is
it affects us socially, yes.
Yes, how it affects us socially. If it didn't affect socially, why, if somebody just had a God belief, then I don't think most atheists would even give a shit unless they just want to have, they want to have that argument, which is fine. People have been discussing that topic for ages, but I don't think as many of them would be as active as
even
they are.
Something as subtle and unnerving as my local police department that has "In God We Trust" on the back of their squad cars.
Which I actually covered on my Giving a Religion an Inch video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Someone like myself, I don't really give a shit about that, to be honest with you. I think it's too minor to even bother with. Now, I understand that people might have an issue with it. Fine, whatever. To me, I think there's bigger fish to fry than something like that. But because usually when they're talking about God, they're just talking about a concept rather than an actual.
Why is it capitalized then?
But it's still a conceptual thing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, to me, it's so much wasted.
It can be taken as a conceptual thing, but I would say 9 times out of 10, I would actually probably bet that in most cases they're specifically referring to Yahweh.
You're right. You're right.
At that point, if they're trusting in, if a plea, and the comparison that I brought up in my video was, if you're okay with that, then what if that's not the God that the police officer wants? What if they wanted to put Allah Akbar on there?
Right. No,
exactly.
Would you immediately freak out?
I agree. I agree with you. That's a valid argument. Straight up. Okay.
When Steve go.
Yeah. This is short and sweet. This was on the Ken Hovind video that I did when I explained to Ken Hovind why dogs produce dogs years and years and years ago.
But do they produce pine trees?
This was way before the pine tree thing.
Damn it.
But I love this one. Steve is retarded and confused.
Short, sweet, concise.
You know what? They spelled it all right. Yeah.
They're probably right on one of those points. You are usually very confused on some things.
Ain't that the truth?
Okay.
But I think that's also part of the human condition.
You insult and disrespect your viewers by making a video when you are drunk. I feel like you just vomited in my chair.
What?
Do you want me to reread
it? Is that person just saying that because you're less coherent, or do they actually have like a problem with alcohol? They could be either one of those, and I don't know which one.
Well, I know. Okay, I'm going to say his name, Rody Green, and he is a frequent troll on my site, and that's fine. I'll call him out. But he also gets on me for vaping. He gets on me for, any little thing. And it's just disrespectful and it's unprofessional. You know what? Start your own fucking channel, because this is how I run things.
I was about to say, you're not paying for my content, so It doesn't matter.
Dude, if I want to sit there and get drunk on my channel and talk shit, I'm gonna get drunk and talk shit. Fuck you. Okay, I don't understand how people tell other people how to run their channels. I've never done that. I would never tell Jim how to run his fucking channel. If he asks for suggestions, I'd kindly give them, but I'm not going to ever say, Jim, don't drink on your channel.
I'll tell Jim.
If I did ask for a suggestion right now, what's the first one that comes to your mind? Better audio, right?
Grow your hair.
This is what's called a pussy patch.
Yeah, that's nice.
I would honestly say I'd like to see Dom B on again, personally.
Oh, you like him? Yeah, I love that guy.
I actually don't mind him. I don't think that a lot of his arguments are like incredibly sound.
No, well,
but I do like listening to him on your channel.
Whatever is under layman, he's that. He's just very curious, though. I love it.
I would go with more Courtney.
Oh, just for the
eye candy's
nice. Eye candy, yeah.
Yeah, eye candy's fine. Yeah, she's cute. But
you know what? Above and beyond the eye candy, she's smart as me. That's together.
Yeah, I mean, she
was on the Faithless Females just recently, the new channel that just started. Did you watch that?
I'm aware of it. Yeah,
the Faithless Females, and she did really well. And working on her doctorate in psychology helps too.
She's really intelligent, and I'm really impressed by her. Okay, so this one's kind of a backhanded thing. I'm not sure how to take this one. So, Jim, you interpret this one for me, okay? Again, this was on a G-Man video. Atheists are just dumb fucking stupid, but G-Man needs to actually know the subject matter, or atheists will gish gallop.
What?
You know what a gish gallop is, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
I'm very well aware of what a gish gallop is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to interpret that because I was the one carrying conversation with G-Man. People know I'm not an atheist, but they're saying that atheists are just dumb fucking stupid, but G-Man actually needs to know the subject matter. So in this particular case, G-Man didn't know the subject matter. Other people in the hangout did. Many of them were atheists, and they decided to leave a comment like that. I don't get it. Okay.
I think what I get from that is that they think that all atheists are stupid in general, but they're saying that G-Man is not putting the best foot forward, and he's worse than
the dumb fucking atheist. Okay.
Yeah, he's not arguing correctly, and that we gish gallop. And G-Man, of course, does not. He does the opposite of gish gallop because it takes him, 5 minutes to get through a sentence. Sometimes when he's like staring off into space. And okay, here we go. Now get ready. This is going to turn pretty dark here. One good thing about the Orlando shooting was it was a gay club. So less gays in the world. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, see, those are just sick. Those people just need to you know what? They just need to perish. I'm one of those people. I have no sympathy for certain people, and those people are not constructive to society. They're just a drain.
Yeah, those are the type of people that should probably be made sterile. Just saying.
Yeah, don't reproduce.
Let's throw eugenics right in there.
I'm fine with that.
It's actually not a eugenics thing.
Yeah, eugenics is for race.
Yeah, for me, it's not a eugenics thing. For me, it's I don't want them raising children to think like they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I have no sympathy for certain people any longer, and that type of people I just don't. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I got two good ones here. I love this one. What video was this one? This was non sequitur after show. Steve is behaving stupidly. He is just asking a dumbass about LIGO. I mean, he doesn't know Newtonian mechanics, and Steve is going around general relativity. So I'm behaving stupidly because the guy that I was talking about didn't understand LIGO. He didn't understand relativity. And it's the fact that I was trying to explain to him that I'm being stupid.
If he came with that as an afterword with his point, he didn't make a point. He's just criticizing you, but he's not making a counterpoint.
They generally don't.
Yeah.
That's why they're bad comments.
All right, here we go. Now I'm going to have to explain this one afterwards. I do not have a goatee, and I am only 15 pounds overweight. And here's the afterword to that. In the video, I said that the vast majority of people that come to our atheist meetups here locally are 30 pounds overweight and have goatees and are white and pasty and look like me, basically. And I was like, we need more diversity. We need more diversity. And he said, well, I don't have a goatee and I'm only 15 pounds overweight.
Anyway. They just have this image of Jim Hall in their head and they're like, that's what he looks like.
We need more diversity in our group. And I can explain why we don't have a melanin diversity. I've got a number of explanations for that, but I think it's gender imbalanced, it's color imbalanced. We need to get. I'm not saying make it a Benetton ad, but let's get some more. And not just for appearances either, because you bring different experiences on to the table.
Suddenly, it was dead air.
Did you not catch any of that? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I caught it. I
Yeah.
I just remember we had this conversation I think the last time the three of us were in a hangout on Atheist Edge, I believe we had this conversation to an extent.
What did we talk about? I forget.
Well, I think Drunk
Diversity
remembers it better. I think it was it was very close to this particular subject, but I don't remember exactly what. I'm gonna have to dig through 3 hours of video to find it.
Is it the one where I talked about the VP of Google that got publicly admonished, censured for saying that 12 white men in a room can be just as diverse as anyone else because of they come with different experiences in life.
That's not what diversity means.
Well, diversity of thought. Diversity doesn't just have to mean gender or race.
Yeah, no, but in a business environment, that diversity is not going to be referring to just thought. You're not going to get away.
I agree.
You're going to get shit on for that.
We're talking about diversity of opinions, diversity of ideas.
Sure.
That 12 white men in a room could be just as diverse as, and she got her ass spanked for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that case, I mean, 12 white people would have diversity of thought, sure.
Yep. That's all she was saying.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. People jump on those things too stupidly. Okay. Yep. I love this. Evolution apologists offer branches produce leaves as proof of common ancestry. Wrong again. Leaves fall off the tree. The mule is not a viable species. It is the end of a line of diversity. They are trying to say the mule and the horse are different species with a common ancestor, but prove there's no evolution on their tree because the mule is a dead end. Jesus fucking Christ, person. Go goddamn take a biology course.
They don't understand what a ring species is. They don't understand ring species.
Say it again, Suris. What species?
Ring species.
Oh, is that one that is sterile at birth?
No. Ring species can interbreed with one another, but the offspring cannot.
It depends.
Okay. Like donkey and horse makes a mule.
No. That's not what ring species. Ring species is a type. Yeah, ring species is a type of what's called allopatric speciation, and what an allopatric speciation is when you have diversification due to geography. So let's say I have a population that starts somewhere, and it's a base of a mountain, and that population, half of it goes one way around the mountain, and the other half goes the other way around the mountain. Yeah,
like the salamanders in California.
Yeah, it's called the Ensatina salamander. The California Ensatina salamander is a perfect example. When those different populations that are produced, there's like 19 of them, as a matter of fact. When they got to the base, other side of the mountain, they were unable to reproduce, or what's called biologically reproductively isolated. However, some of them were able to hybrid. Okay, there was some hybridization, and there's some what's called post-zygotic termination, meaning that they were able to breed, but after they bred, after the zygote was produced, it wasn't viable. Okay, so there's different degrees of being viable, but the same thing happens is that they cannot produce viable offspring that can then go on to have other offspring. Like a donkey is a result of a hybridization. Not all of them are sterile. I think 1% are actually.
Oh, no, you mean mules. Mules are the sterile ones, yeah.
Yeah, mule. So 1% of mules are not sterile, but see, those are still hybridizations, and this person doesn't understand. To get to a hybrid, you have evolution.
No, Steve, that's microevolution.
Oh, God damn. So yeah, they don't even know these concepts, and they're thinking that they refute of all evolution theory.
Microevolution over 4.6 billion years becomes what?
Us.
Okay, you got one?
Yeah. It's like whenever I have to deal with whenever you have to deal with somebody who's like micro and macro, I'm like, well, if you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, then you only believe in macro, because after Noah's Ark, you'd have to have nothing but macroevolution. Shit tons of it.
That's a great point. I never thought of that.
But their argument is speciation is not macroevolution; it's adaptation, which is nonsensical.
But that's nonsense. Any amount of biology proves that's nonsense.
They're creationists. Yeah.
Yes, I understand that, but it's the whole like I don't accept that at all. So you just continue the conversation without accepting it.
Yep.
Because I don't even have to grant them that. I can go, okay, sure, we can say that microevolution is real. I'll grant you that, and then we say what's microevolution over millions of years. If they only believe in 6,000 years and they say microevolution, either one of those things, which is what Ken Ham does.
But But macroevolution doesn't require millions of years sometimes. I mean, you can have macroevolution in a generation or two.
Yeah, you can have, like, there are some bacteria that have it over just a generation. That's why that's why the common cold can't be
fruit flies. No, fruit flies are not a single generation, but
if you do it in a laboratory setting, it can be, right? No,
plants.
I thought mayflies actually can, like, within just a few generations, they can actually.
Well, I mean, we're talking what, several dozens or something like that. But I mean, I'm talking about it in a single generation because of polyploidy. You can have the offspring.
Well, what is that word?
Polyploidy.
What is that?
Chromosome multiplication. When you have like we're diploid, so we have two sets of chromosomes.
Oh, okay.
Polyploidy would be multiple sets. So you have these whole genome duplication events that actually create a copy of your genome, and because of that, the offspring is not the same as the parent. There's something called we mentioned allopatric speciation. There's another type of speciation called sympatric speciation, and that would be what you were talking.
All right, Rob, look at your ass. Check out the big brain on Steve.
It's not that. No, it's not that complicated. Look at people. Particularly stuff's complicated, more complicated than it is. The concepts are pretty simple. Bacteria. If you have what's called 2n3, which means I have 3 chromosomes, diploid, and 2n2, which means I have 2 chromosomes, so I have 3 and 2. Because they can't intermix, right? Sometimes they can, but when they do so, their offspring are doubled, and they have 2n10, and so their offspring cannot be viable with either of the initial ancestors, and that is called sympatric speciation. And so, because of this duplication process, you can have viable offspring that is diploid 2n10 that are not, you cannot reproduce with the 2n2s and the 2n3s. That's sympatric speciation. We know that it happens. It actually does occur. That is a form of macroevolution.
I barely caught that, but it makes sense. This ties into what we were talking about. Here's the next one. Evolution is absurd. How are you supposed to get billions of bits of programming that isn't there? Do you want evidence of God? Consider the written programming in biology.
Oh my God, the whole DNA is a code thing.
Yep. I hate that.
It's not okay. What they don't
the Bible code, but in
DNA would not be considered a code if we had not mapped it out first. There's only a code because we mapped.
They're looking at it in reverse.
But I think there's two things going on. One, implements like St. Patrick's speciation, St. Patrick, sympatric. So no, I would think if a creation wants to make an argument, why don't they make the argument that the protein synthesis, the RNA codons, that's a code? Okay, fine. But that's not the same thing as saying DNA is a code. DNA is a molecule. I don't see any code in DNA. I don't see how that could be a code. Now, if you want to say that the protein synthesis is a code, okay, there's codons. There's an RNA synthesis chart, and you can look at how the codon is and what amino acid it's going to code for. Sure, okay, code, big deal. So what? That doesn't get you to God, people. It doesn't get you to intelligent design either.
Well, it's like one of the things that I've said in several chats before is whenever somebody tries to give me the Aquinas proofs or anything like that, and I say, cool, I will go ahead and give you all of that. I'll grant you every single Aquinas proof. I will say they're all 100% valid. Congratulations, you've made me a deist. Now you've got your work cut out for you.
At best, but even the Aquinas proofs. I mean, in fact, I think it was her name was Kim or something brought this up on the Non Sequitur show the other day. Aquinas's 5-way really is only for the people that already believe there's a deity.
Yes. Nobody was ever convinced and converted using Aquinas' 5 ways.
It keeps the person believing rather than taking if you run those arguments to an atheist, it's not really going to work for them for the most part.
What was Aquinas' 3-way?
Five. What was his 3-way? Well, that was his wife and his girlfriend.
Aquinas' 3-way. Sorry.
Aquinas' 5 ways. He's more kinky than that.
Yeah, well, basically, it was 5 arguments related to theological arguments, cosmological arguments, and epistemological arguments for the existence of God. Like the argument from first cause or argument from motion. These are arguments. What if everything is moving? Then what was the prime mover? What was the first thing that set everything in motion?
Cool. And the answer to that can easily be, I don't know.
you don't have to insert God.
Yeah, and even if you did, at best, it would get you to a deist position.
Yes, it would make you a deist, because you can have a deistic God that was a prime mover. All a prime mover means is that he set everything in motion and then left.
Right.
Which is
There's
what a
nothing
deistic
that makes
God
a
is.
deist.
Steve, Fred Knotts in the chat said, "Tell me what your take on this. The singularity is not nothing. It is literally everything we see in a different form."
No, that's not true. Because look at before we even had the universe, the particles, things. There's what's called gluon soup, right? There's even before that there was the fluctuations, but we didn't have particles. It wasn't, this stuff didn't exist in some form prior to any of it forming. You didn't have helium prior. Well, actually, funny is actually some helium did exist prior to the hydrogen, but you didn't have heavier elements, right? You didn't have heavier elements until stars were around.
Yeah, heavy elements had to be formed in literal star forges.
Yes, right. So these things did not exist in some form prior to that in the singularity. You didn't have uranium that existed in some form in the singularity. No.
Of course, you had to have uranium. That's how you made the explosion of the Big Bang. Kidding. Kidding.
Yeah. So I don't think it was in a different form. No, I don't look at it that way at all. There's no pure energy. I don't even know what that would mean.
Okay.
What's the next hate comment we've got?
Steve's up.
Let's see here. Disgusting bullies kicking the only open-minded human into discussion out. Can you Satanists prove the theory of gravity? Theory is capitalized.
We're Satanists now. Yeah, there we go.
What video is this on?
Yeah, this was on the video. It was a non sequitur show after show.
What's that logical fallacy to equate us with Satanists? Is that equivocation, bifurcation?
I would say an argumentum de Satanas.
You just made that up.
I totally made that up, but it works.
I like it. Okay.
This video.
At least we're not getting into the conversation that we all had on the Legion of Doom group chat.
Oh, how did that go? I totally missed it.
Well, this was completely unrelated to that. It was if godless cranium holds his own dick in his own hand, does that make him gay? That
went on for several hours, by the way.
Yes, this was a very long conversation. I tried to come up with an actual philosophical formula for it, and Steve had to fix it and be like, okay, is this how this actually should be formatted?
I think I might have screwed it up. Well, no, I think it was okay, but yeah,
it was already kind of screwed up in the beginning. You just took the knots out and put them as actual knot symbols.
Yeah,
correct.
That's how it'd be, I think, in C language. But that was on the R and Raw Jeranism video. Go figure. My comment.
Let's see. Yeah, for one, there's a reason I haven't tackled Jeranism yet on my channel. I think that he's boring as fuck to listen to.
Yeah, he is. He doesn't know jack. His whole argument is one big. Well, you don't know.
You don't know, and I don't know. And I'm fine with you don't know, and I don't know, and things we actually don't know. But we know that the Earth is round to an extent.
Yeah, there's a funny thing that I saw. It was a meme, and it was like, okay, well, why is there no flat Mars society? And the flat Earth society replied,
they respond to what was it, the Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, because Mars is round.
Well, that's a great point. How are we the anomaly?
Yeah.
If a lot of flat earthers accept the oblate spheroid for every other planet in the universe, but how are we such an anomaly? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's very strange. There was the last video there's a reason that the only flat earther that I've actually tackled is Delano. I need to go for other ones. I'm trying to find ones that are so ridiculous that they're fun for my viewers to listen to as well, because I don't need to tackle Jeranism. Aaron Raw's already beaten the ever-loving crap out of him. Just with saying no, you don't know, and you can't say that's a reason.
How do you guys label your channels? You have to put a label on it, like education. And I was education for a while, but I switched it to entertainment. Does that up your viewer count, or is there anything beneficial to changing your
category? So
your category,
if you want to specifically look for education, then
what would be the best one for this kind of channel?
For atheism and for your channel in specific, I think entertainment is a great place to put your channel. For Chris,
But like Holy
education is
Kool-Aid,
his.
I have mine
Yeah,
under
for-
entertainment.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
mine,
entertainment
I have
seems to
mine
work.
labeled as education because I have enough videos where I've had to have like a bunch of cited sources for
And
things that I've
Chris,
pointed
just
out.
FYI, man, I think you might want to switch it to entertainment because I think it gets more views, actually.
Yeah, it does. I think so as well.
Then I might have to go ahead and switch that around.
Mine's
Make a
under
note of
people
that.
and culture because I'm tackling.
Yours is personal stories.
The
Well, I'm
average.
tackling personal story up until like the present day, and then I'm going to talk about like how I deal with my personal disabilities.
Yeah,
and
it
mental
goes
illnesses
from just
and-
personal stories to anecdotes.
Yeah.
Whereas
Personal
for
stories
me-
probably is popular too.
for
the
me-
average for entertainment's higher than the rest of them. Of all
Yeah,
the categories.
then I'll have to go in and change mine around so I can get more. I know for
Write a note now, you'll forget.
Or you could do it like True Pearson does, put it under news.
put it under
Should
news.
you not?
That's
Is
what
it- yeah.
Young Turks and David Patman do.
Yeah, news. I love that. Okay, yeah. Let's go back
All
to
right.
Just
comment.
so you guys
Let's see
know,
what
I've been
hysterically.
scrolling through several pages of my comments in a desperate attempt to find hate comments, and I haven't actually found some.
Sir.
Dude, they're
I,
easy to
I
find.
need
My
people to hate me. I need hate.
Send him some hate.
I'll put one. And guess what? I've got one from Suris on my hate comments. You want me to read that?
Oh dear.
Sure.
Okay, this is from Suris the Skeptic, so little known YouTuber on the backwaters. And he said, the vortex is eating him, but awesome job, guys. And I don't know for the life of me what the vortex means.
Okay, so in the beginning of that video, the other person you had on the left-hand side of the screen, your green screen was consuming him.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
Watch the first few minutes of your video. Your green screen is eating half of his face.
Holy
Right.
shit.
That's why I
didn't
said
even
the
notice.
vortex is consuming him.
Well, there's my editing skills right there.
So
Okay.
I got to read this one. This is not a hate comment, but it's really good. It's to Mr. Intelligent Design.
Oh God.
From one Asian to another, you are making us look bad with your nonsensical arguments.
I
Was that
drinking beer
from
when you said
Mr. Intelligent Design or two?
No, it's two. It's two Mr.
Okay.
Intelligent Design. From one
So-
Asian to
so-
another.
Jim, you know who Mr. Intelligent Design is, right?
Yep.
Okay, can I'll go ahead and say this for any of my viewers who might not have known. Mr. Intelligent Design is a lovely individual who Kent Hovind considered too crazy to have a conversation with.
He's
he
reached
left
out
in the
to
middle
me
of the
at
conversation.
least twice and basically with debate me, bro.
Yeah. No.
You can't leave and then say debate me, bro. Debating means that you have to stay.
Mhm.
Hey, no, there was one guy that actually a long time ago he challenged me and he's like, Steve, I challenge you to come to my hangout and face me face to face. And I was like, okay, fine, send me a link. Oh, I don't want you in here. It's like you just said you challenged me face to face. You should come in there. I said fine, and then like they won't give me the link. It was hilarious. And I don't do that any longer, by the way. I won't respond to those challenges.
Stupid. It's that's how you can tell it was a bluff from the beginning.
Oh, it's clearly because I was
They're
like, okay,
expecting
give
you
me
to
the link.
not respond. I also don't know why I'm looking for this.
But now they know I don't respond. Now I know I tell people I don't respond to those things. So now they can't say Steve's chickening out because I'm like before I was like go for it. Now it's just like who the fuck are you to call me out? You know, if you want to talk to me, man up and talk to me. I have 3 channels. Come on, I'll talk to you about certain subjects. But you know, I'm not just gonna like respond and jump through hoops to go on your channel to talk to you about like evolution or something. You know, it's just stupid.
You got another one, Steve?
Let's see here.
I'll throw one in the middle.
Go ahead.
Trannies, this one doesn't require any comments. Trannies, you are living lie, not a lie. You are living lie, and everyone knows it. Commit suicide now.
Suicide.
Commit suicide. Oh my.
Okay.
Okay, so we
Like
need
this-
to find
this-
someone named Sid and sue them.
Yes, we need to sue Sid, whoever the hell he is.
This is not so much a hate comment as something that I just don't understand. It said, I would just like to say, please don't bash those of us that believe in God. I, for one, believe in God. I realize my belief in God is purely faith-based, and I'm okay with that. Your atheism, apostrophe, you are apostrophe.
You are atheism.
You are atheism would not be swayed by me, and I won't argue with you. That's your business. I will challenge anybody out there in the 1,000 videos that I have, please find me any video where I allowed them to bash on people for believing on God. It has never happened. I have never attacked people for holding a belief that they believe in God. Every one of my attacks is individual beliefs that is completely demonstrably false. If you say that you're the 7,000,
I've never seen you do is say, "Please demonstrate that."
Well, what's this? Yeah, that's fine.
Or you will belittle them and call them irrational or illogical.
No, you're not. I don't think you're irrational for having a theist belief. That's Aaron's thing. And I think Aaron's completely wrong on that.
No, I was talking about earlier on the thread.
Yeah, but this person's not being irrational. But
if we want to bring that back up, then I'll have to make a Facebook group that's closed. It only has you two in it, and it's just Jim and Steve's playground.
Irrational is irrational, but why is this? See, this is what I don't get. He's obviously watching my channel and not understanding. Nobody in that particular hangout was bashing somebody for holding a God belief. Nobody. That doesn't happen on my channel. They don't allow it. Now, on other channels, they do. Sure, fine. You know, that's your shtick. But why do they attribute that to my channels when I've never allowed it to happen? It's weird. I don't know. It's like we don't watch. They can't be watching the same thing as everybody else is watching because everybody tells them as well. You must have watched something else because it is well known Steve doesn't allow that on his channel. If you're going to attack an argument, attack an argument. If somebody says, I believe in God because of this argument, and you go, well, that's a shitty argument. Let me explain to you why. That's not attacking your God belief. That's attacking the argument.
It's not attacking. That's attacking the idea. Yes. The idea that they're holding that doesn't have a founding. And I will say this 1,000 times. People have rights. Ideas don't.
Yeah,
exactly.
And by the way, I know people that will attack, and I love Ozzy to death, and I'm hoping that I'm right in this. Ozzy thinks that Atheism is a bad position. He thinks that believing in God purely faith-based is a bad position. Okay, and I hope I'm right in that. I don't want to ever misquote Ozzy because I have the most respect for him, but I think I disagree on that a little bit. I at least don't care if somebody says a fiatist position. If they say I believe in God and I know it's faith-based, whether that's something that's rational or irrational doesn't really mean that much to me. I would rather have, in that particular case, them acknowledge that it's faith-based rather than saying, I believe in God because the Bible literally says that God exists and the earth is 7,000 years old. Because at that point, we're on a different footing.
At that point, you can then start asking them why they hold those particular beliefs as opposed to just saying, well, you're irrational.
Right.
Go fuck yourself.
That's
how it starts off. That's how it starts off.
What video was that? Wait, what video was that?
I don't have it tied to a video. I copied and pasted all the bad ones. Go fuck yourself. Agnostic is only an atheist with no balls, and an atheist is an anti-theist with no balls.
Yeah, I get that one too. And I'm like, look at. If you think that's true, come talk to me because I'll set you straight. Because
I had to put that one out there for you, Steve.
Yeah,
I gotta say, that's incorrect.
Because I'll tell you right now,
so many ways.
It is much harder to justify agnosticism than people think.
Well, especially because you have to fight people on the definition literally every other day.
No shit, right?
Is that just being like one instance?
So that's only going to change it for future videos. In order for you to get it on all of your videos, you're going to have to go to each individual video and change it.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fun.
This one's not a hate comment, but I had to say it. Prophet of Zod? No. Prophet of badassery.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I just looked at one for Zod too. Here we go. Awesome end statement from Zod. Bravo, good man. Bra fucking vo. There you go.
Nice.
I gotta say, the Prophet of Zod one, was that from the collaboration that I did with him?
That was from the in-person interview when he was in Dallas. Yeah.
I remember there being a similar comment where they were, because Zod was more scathing to Steve Salanti than I was.
I've never seen Zod scathing. He's really mellow.
He's very mellow, but the thing that he said about Steve, and it was actually not about Steve, it was just on the video about Steve. He had said that actually I'm not a real prophet. It's just a funny name that I like to use. You know, a lot like Dr. Kent Hovind.
Nice.
That's about the extent you're going to get with Zod being scathing.
I found a hate comment. It's for me. Go fuck yourself. There you go. You got a hate comment.
Wonderful. I don't hear it every day.
My first hate comment ever was my youngest daughter 14 months ago, when I first started the channel, I was in my garage with my laptop just testing some stuff, and I accidentally went live, and she was the only viewer, and she goes, "Dad, you know you're just sitting out in the garage by yourself. That's so sad."
Oh,
That's a lot like what happened on Godless Craniums. He had his he had his thing turn on live for a good 20 minutes without realizing it. So we were just hearing his personal life and like him talking to his.
dude, I was writing them. You're hot mic'd. You have a hot mic, and Frankie, I was writing them too. Finally, they looked at the chat
and they were like, "Oh."
I hope they didn't reveal any
hilarious.
crazy personal stuff.
Godless Cranium is a flaming homosexual.
I think his fiance would agree.
Yeah,
100%. It's pronounced fiance.
She's actually a he.
Cranium Cranium isn't in the closet. He's behind the mask.
Oh, there was some static on my show with Prophet Azad. I didn't put my camera on airplane mode, so I was getting static from other cell phones in the area, and there was static on the video. And someone commented something like, "You know, I don't mind the static with Prophet Azad. It seems fitting based on his avatar."
It's true. I think it's very weird because I'd seen like one frame of what he actually looked like, and then like a picture of him on the Faithless Forum thing. I was the one that picked him up from the airport for the Faithless Forum event. Yep. So when I went to grab him, I'm just like, I know I'm looking for an old guy, but what I'm really looking for is just a wall of static. Trying to find a wall of static with luggage.
What if he came out of the baggage claim with like a mask on with a static? That'd be funny.
Story. I was actually the one driving, and I was like, well, what does he look like? I'm going to look out for him. And he's just like, just look for his blue jacket. And I was like, well, why? Don't you know what he looks like? And he goes,
nobody does.
No.
He's been on camera. I mean, I know what he looks like, but you know what? I think he has a lot younger voice than his looks like.
He does. He sounds like he's in his early 20s, but he's...
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's not old. He's in his 40s, whatever.
Well, the funny part about it was that when we pulled... Like, we slowly approached this guy that we thought was him, and I was like, Chris, text him. Do it, just so we could see if it's him. I don't want to pull up and some dude get in the car. Come on.
Here you go. I got a good one.
Okay.
This is from Apologies video that he did on my channel.
Oh, dear.
Much ado about nothing at all. All science is pseudo. Oh, no, wait. This is all an absolute nonsensical chatter. You believe in scientific methods applied by self-labeled and accredited individuals with agendas. Pick up the Bible and align reality to the fact that all things ebb and flow from Yahweh.
I've got a couple of responses to that. Ready? Here's my responses to that. Testable, verifiable, falsifiable, peer-reviewed.
And I would say scientism.
Scientism.
And I would say
evolutionist and materialist.
Actually, a theist in that particular case probably would be right. The application of the scientific method cannot be utilized for God. That's one thing that the science goes out of its way to say is that we cannot test for God. So when you're asking them for a demonstrable thing of God and applying the scientific method, when a theist says that's scientism, they actually are using the word correctly there. Every other time they get it wrong. But in that
science can only measure the observable, non-supernatural phenomenon, the observable universe.
So why would you ask them for a demonstration of God then, of Yahweh?
My thing is always saying that God acts the same way as a shape or a color. It's an abstract concept that has usage, but it doesn't mean it exists.
But the color red could not make me burn in hell for eternity.
Yeah, but the red doesn't exist, so that's why.
Yeah. Don't do this, Jim. I had this conversation with.
I know. I stopped myself short. How
are you in universals? Do they exist? Universals.
Like universals?
The problem of universals.
Give me an example of universal.
Universals.
What's that?
I'm unfamiliar with the problem of universals.
Oh, okay. Well,
give me an example of universals.
A universal is would be a property. The color green is a universal that exists.
Now we have to agree on the definition of to exist.
No. It's actually a very specific thing. But anyways, I don't want to get into the problem with universals.
Here we go. Okay. All right, next
We'll
one.
start getting into Platonic realism.
I can in a few weeks. I'll probably be able to come back to you with this conversation.
Yeah, look it up. You'll be interested in it. It's called a problem universal. It's a metaphysical problem. It's whether it's something that has a property if that property actually exists. The actual property if it exists.
The color orange, I know from cryptology school, and I'm probably way off by orders of magnitude, but the color orange is 460 gigahertz on the RF spectrum. So it can be measured. Now, that's, the empirical being able to see the color orange, but the color orange itself is a specific location on the RF spectrum.
Gigahertz is way up there, dude. Light spectrum is below the radio spectrum, so it can't be in the gigahertz.
Okay, I'm way off. This was several decades ago, but anyway, it can be found on the RF spectrum. It is a specific range of frequency.
Well, yeah, just like with any wavelength, but your eyes are interpreting that as something. The way because Kyle's a graphic artist, what I told him is, why is my hashtag FFFF21 your hashtag FFFF22? It's different hexadecimal values for color. Why are we seeing a different one? If it exists, if it's there, we shouldn't be seeing a different one.
I have to. That's a good segue for my next joke. There are only 10 kinds of people on Earth. Those that understand
binary and those who don't.
Oh, he got me. Yeah. Damn it.
Too easy.
Oh, sorry.
Too easy.
All right, here we go. That's really good job, Suris.
I guess it's in the terahertz.
Clickbait thumbnail and title. You fuckstick should be ashamed of yourselves.
Okay. I wish I knew which one it was for.
I don't purposely try to clickbait, but if you want views, okay, here's
there has to be some level of it.
Chris and I did a video of talking about how God is basically a deadbeat dad, right? And here's the two titles. Here's the two titles I was choosing between. Well, I'll tell you the one it actually became was Your God is a Monster. That one, if you want to call that clickbait, fine. But the other one was really generic vanilla. It wasn't going to get clicks. And sometimes you have to title it. Now, Your God is a Monster. I don't consider that clickbait.
It's not, especially, well, it is kind of clickbait. It depends on what your definition of clickbait is. I don't think clickbait is always just, is there tits in the thumbnail?
Yeah, no, it's clickbait is something where if you want to say God is a monster, I don't necessarily think that's clickbait. If that's you actually think God is a monster. Now you can make the argument it is clickbait only for the fact that it invoking a response to the person seeing it, such that they're going to watch the video. But that's not really clickbait. That is just the fact that is what a good title does.
Yeah, that's not clickbait. That's good marketing.
It has nothing to do with the video. And it's gratuitous, like you said, sexually maybe or otherwise, then that would be clickbait.
Right, exactly.
But it's not. I mean, unless you want to consider the fact that I'm in my thumbnails sometimes, and I have boobs here. So yes, technically, I guess I have clickbait if my person is in my avatar because I have boobs.
It's got to be boobs people want to look at, though, Chris.
That's true. Nobody wants to see these things.
Nobody wants to see that.
No, not a single one.
There might be some guys I would go gay for. You're not one of them.
No.
You got to come to Dallas, dude. You got to, this is a perfect opportunity. And we're about to get an Amazon retail business here. There's so many businesses and jobs. You guys just pack up and come to Dallas.
As soon as we can. At the moment, we are 1 month away from the lease ending here, but we're already signed up for the next year lease on top of that. So nice. Once that is up, then we are free to do so. But as it stands, we don't have that ability.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Trust me. But I mean, I'm fortunate. I've been here for like 3 years now, and I don't foresee myself going anywhere for quite some time. So it's nice.
Where are you, Steve? I forget. The Carolinas, right?
California.
No,
California. Shit, I was way off.
It's
Samsonite. I was way off.
We have older gentlemen living here, and it's just everybody kind of keeps to themselves, and it's quiet and. Nice. I love this comment. Evolutionists just do not see their faulty thinking. It's amazing. And I responded, explain it to us. The theory of evolution has withstood 150 years of intense scrutiny. What do you have to offer that's new? His response, I offer nothing new regarding evolution. My only take on them is the same stellar arguments presented by other creationists.
Oh.
That's a dumb comment.
That is really dumb. If you can't say, for instance, I can beat atheism in 10 minutes. Okay, cool. Defeat it. If you think that you can defeat that position after you've defined that position correctly, do it. And then they link you to a William Lane Craig video. No, you are not making your argument.
I agree.
That's one of my 19 commandments. Don't do it.
He's like,
you know what?
You make your argument.
I'm going to write these down, and I've been meaning to do this. And one of the things I was going to put in there is actually something along the lines. If you're going to correspond with me, link it to me a video that somebody else made as your argument isn't going to cut it for me.
No, it's not.
Steve, have you read my 19 commandments of YouTubers, content creators?
I have not.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. You guys talk. I'm going to read this. You guys talk about it. I'm going to link it in the chat. Okay. It's one of them. It's basically if you have to give me a video or send me a link to some article or to prove your point, you're not proving your point very well. Just tell me what you want to say and maybe form a fucking independent thought for once in your life.
Yeah, just it's not as bad. If somebody says, okay, well, according to this video, this isn't, and they make the argument. Okay,
they use the video as a reference or a citation. That's different.
It's different. It's still not my favorite thing, but it's better.
Well, like Suris says, he explains it, then he backs it up with some supplemental.
Sure,
then that's cool.
Sure, but when I see you're wrong, here's a video you should watch. I'm not going to waste my time if it's a creation video. It's just not going to happen.
It's really not worth it. What I'll do is I'll say, here is my argument. Here's what I'm saying. If you would like to back check to make sure that I'm not bullshitting you, I have provided articles as my cited sources. They are here. But that's completely different than saying my position is that all atheists eat babies and you should watch these videos to understand my position. I have the burden to make you understand my position. It is up to you if you would like to research after I've presented my point. Sure. I still have to present my point, though.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
All right, I'm copying and pasting. You guys, hold up.
I'm going to adjust because it is very awkward sitting on a couch when the air conditioner is not working. Very hot.
Yeah, I do get these types of comments, but I got to tell you, I'm going through these comments, and 90% of them are actually really positive, and I appreciate every one of them, and they're fucking hilarious. Some of them are just they really go off on people. This was this one, Debbie. Oh my God, this woman's so fucking stupid.
This is Debbie, who's just like, it's all fisheye lenses. What about the ones that aren't fisheye lenses? There's still fisheye lenses.
God.
Oh, I had one said, hello, room service, front desk. There are two people outside my room conducting an interview. And it's when I was doing an interview with Holy Kool-Aid, and I was using a fisheye lens, so it looked like you were watching it through a peephole. And it looked like we were in a hotel hallway.
Hello, room service. Could you please get these people out of there? You know what's funny is that you like we were at a center for the Faithless Forum there, but it would have been just as easy for you to conduct those interviews in a hotel because we went to the hotel directly afterwards.
I saw your live show, all of you, at the hotel. That seemed like it was a blast.
Oh, it really was, especially since we had to drag Prophet of Zod kicking and screaming into it. Originally, he was like, I'm going to bed, guys. So he went away, and then 30 minutes in, he just got dragged in.
You were his ride to the airport. He kind of had to.
I was his ride from the airport to the hotel. Ooh. He got a different ride from the hotel to the airport because me and Pam were asleep when he had to catch his ride.
Oh, shit. All right. Now, I'm going to give you a hate comment, and then I'm going to give you... I don't normally feed trolls, but I actually responded to this one, and you tell me if my response was decent.
Okay.
We are all dead in our sins. We are all dead in our sins. If you do not feel God in your soul, you do not know him. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. God will then reveal himself to you. Until we experience God's presence in our soul, we will remain spectators. And I said, what if a Hindu said to you, we are all dead in our sins. If you do not feel the supreme Brahma in your soul, then you do not know him.
I don't think that's a bad argument.
No, I think that's perfectly fine. So actually, I have a question, Steve. This brings me into that leads into something that I've been wanting to ask you about. So I've heard from SJ and other apologists that apparently they think that the argument that if you were born in Saudi Arabia, you would be a Muslim, and if you were born in the United States, you'd probably be a Christian. They call that a genetic fallacy. Do you agree?
No, okay. No, and I wish people would stop using that term genetic fallacy.
Because I don't think that term has any weight. I think that's a bullshit term.
Yeah, well, there's something called a genetic fallacy, but that's not it. Okay. They're using the word genetic as in actually like DNA. A genetic fallacy is something along the lines of you are wrong because of the source you're quoting is not it got something else wrong, or is not a good source.
So it's about the genetics behind your arguments, not
about where you get the argument from. Now there is something to be said by saying, look at ICR, AIG, those pages are not reputable sources. So if a source is a known irreputable source, it's not necessarily a genetic fallacy unless you say what you're saying is wrong because of the source you got it from. That is a genetic fallacy.
Yes, you can't
say you're wrong because you got it from AIG.
Yeah, because you can say that like InfoWars gets one article right out of 1,000. That doesn't make the one article wrong.
Right. So that's a genetic fallacy. But by saying that, now I could say, look at if you quote something off AIG, ICR, Natural News, chances are you're going to be wrong. Okay, that's a fair argument to make.
Chances are there, but it doesn't mean that they're wrong by definition.
Right.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right.
Yep.
But there is something to be said that the culture you are born into weighs heavily on your religion. That's just reality.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
and people like SJ see, and I'm only saying that because they said it in a public paper.
Yes.
But people like them have said that is apparently a genetic fallacy, and I saw it and I was like, so I can understand that might be true, but I feel like that's not the correct usage of genetic fallacy, and I wanted to ask you about it when I got a chance, and obviously here we are. I think that the argument that no, where you are born has nothing to do with whether or not you'll become a Christian, I think that's completely bullshit, and it's somebody trying to grab their entire epistemology from the fucking book of Romans.
Yeah.
That's what that seems like to me, because they're grabbing the section of Romans where it says that we all know God in our heart, and those who apostate themselves have no excuse. I think that entire realm of thought is bullshit, because if that was true, why would you have missionaries? You don't need missionaries if they all have God in their heart already. It's stupid.
You got another one, Steve?
I'm looking.
I'm trying
desperately to find people that hate him.
I got this is just from the last 2 months too. We get all manner
by
of
the way, I should throw this in there. The genetic fallacy is also also going to be used for the origin of the arguments itself. For example, like where the argument came from, and not so much the validity of the argument, but as far as the history behind certain things. It's basically just saying that the historicity of the argument doesn't lay into the credibility of the argument. That's all. I guess a good way to put it. I'm looking here.
I'm trying to post all my 19 commandments, but it only lets me do it 200 characters at a time. So
you're being Twitter locked, basically.
Yeah. Anyway,
in the comment section,
I'm not going to continue. Just you guys get the idea in the chat section.
Yeah, there's always the ability to screen share it too.
Man, I don't know all that newfangled. I need to learn actually. I've seen Steve's channel on the Great Debate Community. He had fire behind him once. I don't even know how to do all that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Shit.
Oh, I could show you how to do all that stuff.
Is that to say for that all you're doing is just keyframing, right?
No, I used Manicam for that one.
Okay.
Did you need a velvet purple screen behind you?
No, he just does that for looks.
A purple bedspread behind you? What is that?
Yeah, it's a purple thing. I have a green one too, but I was trying out different colors. It doesn't work as well. I need to actually get an actual green screen. And
$60 Amazon right here.
Yeah, no, I've got enough for it now, and so somebody helped me out. So I
got to make sure that the green screen doesn't eat your guests.
So I'm probably going to be picking one up when I get somewhere I can get one. And they're not that much. I think
busting balls. $60 on Amazon. comes with the clips, the whole, and it goes up 12 feet.
Yeah, no, I've looked into them. I have somebody that actually like helps me on Patreon, and one of the things that I'm going to use Patreon for is to get the green screen. So I just haven't gotten it yet.
Well, please do, Steve, because I am one of your patrons, so you should do that.
You are. Yeah, I appreciate that too.
The thing about green screens is you don't get to wear any of your cool shirts that are green. So whenever I do a round table or something like, oh, this is not green, but I get some really cool shirts that I never get to wear.
Yeah. Oh, in fact, what? No. Somebody in my live chat who's a Patreon. I'm fine on it. Thank you. He's already given me quite a substantial support, and I have enough right now to get a big green screen. So
there's a guy here locally that wants to flip the bill for a Sony DSLR actual camera, and I'm like, no, dude. You know what? I'm gonna pass. I would rather a lot of people to give a little than you to give me $600. I don't want that.
It's very disconcerting in some ways because you know, when the reason I have the Patreon is to help with the channel and everything. Now, granted, most of it goes to you know, living conditions. I get that. This is my full-time thing, and we're not making a dime off non sequitur, as I said, which is sucky because we put so many hours in it. So I'm literally living off my Patreon and whatever nominal amount I'm making off my channel. But right now it's enough where I had it saved up for this green screen. So I don't need anybody to get it for me. I would rather have people apply it to other things that other people may need, because I don't want to be one of those people that go, oh, every time I need something. No, it's bullshit. I'm right now I'm okay. So
this is a total hobby. This is just a total hobby for me. If I don't make the most I've ever made in 1 month is $268. It's just a total hobby, man. I don't even care.
This is my full-time thing. Everybody knows I totally live off this, but I'm not trying to live on it to where I make a huge amount of profit. I'm using it to survive, but I will make a profit if we goddamn get the non sequitur show freaking monetized.
The end of June, and then at the end of June,
oh bullshit! They'll say July.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's how it go.
If I can make $300 a month off non sequitur, I will be fucking happy as fuck. Do you guys may not sound like a lot, but when you're not making a goddamn fucking thing other than Patreon, yeah, that $300 a month.
Well, you're a math guy.
That would sound amazing for me right now, because right now, just going off my Patreon, I'm making a little over 100 there, which is obviously enough to afford some food for the month. But as far as bills, it doesn't cover anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It wouldn't.
So if I were able to, make stuff off of the channel, then I'd be cool. Because I love the fact right now that I can focus on doing videos and streams and getting more content out for the people that like watching my content, because that's good for them. That's beneficial for them, and I enjoy it. I'm not going to like when I do get employed again. I know that means that I'm going to have to go back down to my maybe being on a stream once every few weeks, doing 2 videos a week, because it takes a lot of time to actually build videos. I know that I'm going to have to regress back to that point, and I don't want to, but I know that if I get employed, I will. That's just
you learn to cut back. I mean, I splurged the other day just because I went out and I actually had a decent lunch for a change, and it was $10. That's splurging for me, literally. I mean, seriously.
You're a full-time atheist, man. I mean, agnostic. Sorry, but yeah.
But I like somebody in the live chat like that. Says make an image list. I appreciate that, but I want to buy the green screen myself because that was what the Patreon was for, and so I need to feel like I'm using it for something. Like I bought my camera, like I like this camera. I paid for it out of my Patreon, but somebody bought my computer, and I don't want to rely on other people when they're generous enough to be my Patreon. I want to be able to use that Patreon for things I need for my channel and survive. That's my goal. So right now I have a little bit saved up. I'm fine. I don't need anybody to buy me a green screen.
Here's my mathematical formula.
I'm very old fashioned like that. I don't know. What's that?
My mathematical formula for back when we were actually monetized before the adpocalypse, the AdSense revenue, the way I estimated it was you take the total number of views. Let's just go per video, not per month or per collection of videos, just per video. Let's say like my biggest video was with R and Raw, and it was 46,000 views. So you take that 46,000, you take 3 zeros away. So you basically divide by 1,000, right? So now we're down to 46, right? Then you multiply times by 3. So 46,000 views, take away 3 zeros, 46 times 3 is about 150, right? And that converts to dollars. So 46,000 views is roughly a little under $150. That's what it takes for ad revenue.
Well, okay. First of all, the ad revenue with the apocalypse killed everybody. I was down to like 32 cents a day.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, it went to shit. I'm subsequently, like right now, significantly higher than that. But I mean, if I can get $5 to $10 a day on AdSense, I'm happy. I mean, that's okay, because when you're down to 32 cents a day, you're done. You're just nothing.
Yeah, that's not even enough to afford ramen for that day.
But that's when I was literally living on my Patreon. I was not making a dime because of that AdSense. Which, I mean, what does 32 cents a day add up in a month? I mean, like $10. So, but I had people attacking my Patreon, and I had to obviously just disband all of them because that was my survival. I mean, this was affecting me in where I live. Now, granted, my rent is low, but 32 cents a day is not going to cover that. But now that it's gone up to a decent, at least $5 to $10 a day, depending on the month, that pays for my rent. Well, not all of it, obviously, but it pays a part of my rent. Patreon is the rest. But when you don't have that, then yeah, I mean, it sucks. But now that it came back up, I have a little bit of extra spending money. That's why I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go out and have a nice lunch and got myself some donuts too. And but now, I mean, like I said, I'm going to buy my own green screen because I want to. I don't need anybody to buy it for me.
Yeah. See, luckily in my situation, and it's actually kind of awkward, but for a decent bit, we had me and Pam both working full time, and I was able to afford computer upgrades, new games, and pretty much anything we needed to do. We were able to eat out pretty much most of the time because you had 2 full-time jobs. Like, you're making a decent bit, and we have a roommate, so we're only paying half of the rent. That was awesome. And then she got really sick for about a straight month, and her job was like, well, we can't take that. So she lost her job. So then we went down to just my paycheck, which was still fine because I was working full-time with benefits, and everything was pretty much okay. And then she got employed, the job I was telling you about, Jim. She's now working full-time at home. And luckily...
It seems like a great gig. Seems like a great deal.
It's honestly great. It is awkward that her office is technically also our bedroom. So, like, when she gets up to work, whether or not I'm sleeping, I have to get up too.
You save on commuting, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We were actually spending over $200 every pay period just in driving, and pay periods were 2 weeks. That was over $400 a month. You
do agree that unless you're like going to be like Aaron, and even Aaron probably doesn't, I do actually kind of know what he makes, but you're not going to get rich off YouTube. You're not going to get rich off YouTube.
No, and the idea is not to get rich off it. The idea is
600 patrons though.
Yeah. The idea is to do something you like, which is good for the viewers as well, because if you're doing something you like, then they'll probably like your content.
Yeah. No, and I think I can make a living off Non Sequitur Show. I think that by the end of the year, that might actually be profitable, where I can actually have an income to say that I have actually income. Yeah. But YouTube has to do that. YouTube has to pull their ass out of their head.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not. They're dragging their feet on that right now. Yeah. Luckily, because Pam had literally just gotten employed again as the issue with my job happened. So it happened just at the right time for us to still be able to somewhat maintain.
People don't know what we go through, man, sometimes.
Yeah, I tell you.
It's keeping everyone entertained. Are you not entertained?
Are you not? I mean,
that is the whole thing. Look I wanted to think that I am putting forth a product, and that if people want to listen to the product, then they want to be a patron, they want to help and support. I feel okay with that. I'm comfortable with that, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I'm one of your patrons. I like what you do, so I am your patron.
And I appreciate that. And everybody, even the people that just watch, even the people just comment, I'm appreciative of every single one of them. People know I went through a lot of shit, and so the fact now that I have a follow. I even have fans. I didn't know what the hell fans were. I have fans. I couldn't even believe it. I have one person, really nice kid. Mr. Atheist. I went into his live chat. I had heard that he wanted to do an interview with me, and I went to his live chat. He like stopped his entire production. It's like, oh my God, Steve McRae's in the live chat. You are my favorite YouTuber. And I was like, how the fuck am I, of all these YouTubers, how am I your favorite? I was blown
spotted
away.
in public yet?
I don't get out that much. That's why.
Have you ever signed an autograph?
No.
Suris, I'm going to ask you. I know you have.
I was about to say I have signed an autograph. Actually.
I know you did.
It was weird. I had one person come up during the Faithless Forum, and he had a Skeptic's Annotated Bible. And at first, he didn't know who I was, because I was like the door person for a while. That was my volunteer thing, was making sure that while we were getting set up for the event, I was corralling people where they needed to be. And when he at first saw me, he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I asked him what YouTubers he was here for. And then after the event, because Thomas Westbrook, Holy Kool-Aid, had actually mentioned my name during the event.
He called you up at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he did it earlier on too. And when he came up to me, he was like, "Actually, turns out that I'm already subscribed to you, so you're the one signature I don't have in my Skeptic's Annotated Bible from this event. I need your signature, or I'm gonna have to stay here." I'm like,
I think that's kind of cool, though. I mean, look at none of us are going to be, well, some people will be. Some people will be bigger YouTubers. I know where I'm going to plateau out. I think, but we're not. These are not superstars. We're not like people that I think should ever give autographs personally. But I think it's cool.
Just people.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be. We're never going to be famous. But in this little niche, I'm happy that we're recognized as having a voice.
Yes.
That to me is the be all end all. And if people happen to like these topics and they recognize us for having a voice on these topics, then that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I love that.
I moonlight as an Uber and Lyft driver, and I was at a local mall, standing outside of my car waiting for my ride, and there was a group of like 20-somethings, right outside the bowling alley. Yeah. And there's a whole group of them, and none of them were my ride, but two of them that were waiting for another Uber looked at me and go, "Hey, you're that atheist guy." And they came over and I signed the back of their movie ticket.
Well, yeah. Do you think, because of the way I look, if I did go into like Texas, people would recognize me?
You have a very distinctive look. Just like Aaron. Aaron gets spotted in shopping malls, grocery stores, everywhere he goes.
Right, but Aaron's very popular. He's got 160,000 subs. I don't have the sub base he has, although I'm finding out that more people know me than subs.
It is going to happen. Dude, your shit is off the chain. I'm not sucking you off, man. It's going to happen.
Gotta say, the whole reason that I even, like with Steve, I didn't know anything about his channel, anything about it at all. I just had a single person say, this is back when I had like 20 subscribers, "Suris, you should probably go talk to Steve. He actually has people on his channel all the time doing debates." And I was like, I've never heard of this Steve McRae person, but sure, I'll take your word of mouth and go. And I messaged Steve on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I was told by one of my friends to talk to you." He invited me into the Great Debate community. And then from there, I participated in maybe like 3 or 4 streams, some small amount. But it was enough to get to know Steve before like the Non Sequitur show and all that other stuff started taking off. But I will say that literally, if you can hear about somebody from word of mouth, then it means you're already doing something right.
And I'm flattered by that. I get messages all the time, Facebook, and new people, and they're constantly messaging me. And I love new people contacting me. I always try to respond to them, and I always try to give feedback. So yeah, that's kind of awesome. I'm just wondering, like I said, if it's because I know other people get recognized. If I was out in some kind of skeptic community, would people recognize me? I'm kind of curious.
Are you kind of an introvert? Do you just not get out much? Because it seems like you get noticed.
I used to be an extrovert a lot. If you go to my Facebook, you'll see me. I was always at parties. I had parties at my house. I had chicks galore. Always going to the clubs. I mean, I could not stay home. I always had to be around people. Always had a girlfriend. I've always lived with a girl all my life, pretty much. When I moved and I quit my job, sold my house, I fell off the grid. I dropped everything just so I can move to be 2 miles away from my daughter instead of 90 miles away from my daughter. And after I moved, people remember my dad passed away. We put my mom in a home that again is only about 2 miles away, which was really nice. But there was a lot of issues that happened and a lot of things that you know, personal shit. But things didn't work out the way I had intended, and so I was never able to go back to work. I lost my car. My roommate had my car towed. But I decided that, you know what, I have to do something. And so that's when I you know, said maybe YouTube's viable. And so far, like I said, it pays the bills. I don't have that much excess, but I'm not necessarily caring about that as much as I have enough for bills, and I see my daughter. That
Bionic Dance is in the chat.
Yeah, she's been here for a little bit.
Oh shit! I just noticed. Damn it!
Yeah, she needs to give.
Now that we're wrapping up, I would love to get. I've never actually talked. I'm gonna fangirl on her.
Yeah, actually, you know what's funny is, and I'm sure Kate will kind of get a kind of kick out of this, but you know, Kate didn't remember me, even though I've had. I don't want to say altercations with Kate, but we don't agree on things, whether she realizes or not. I don't agree with Bionic Dance a lot of things, but I find her videos entertaining. She's very creative and a lovely person.
When I first started getting into YouTube atheism, she was one of the first ones I went to, and it's something about the algorithm I just didn't notice. I thought she was inactive for years.
No, she's active. No, she's around, and she's gonna be doing a show coming up here very soon.
Damn it! I wish we would have.
I remember Kyle asked her about that.
Is it tomorrow?
I'm not 100% certain.
I know she's coming on, but you know, like I said, you know, I don't have to agree with somebody to you know, think they're personable. But she didn't remember, you know, why we have disagreements, which is fine. But you know, she's a really nice person, and I love to have her on.
Awesome.
You know.
Yeah, I haven't watched one of her videos in literally at least a year, maybe more.
I just think she needs to really kind of look a little bit into some of her arguments, because other people have explained to her some of her arguments being bad, and this goes back to Sisyphus Redeemed back like a decade ago, trying to explain to her why her arguments are. And he's a PhD in philosophy, so I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, I think she's gonna be on tomorrow.
Yeah, what do you got coming up?
We have tomorrow a 22-year-old pastor that thinks it's okay to put kids to the death penalty for being unruly.
Well, at least he's in line with biblical theology.
Not questioning that, yeah. And I think it's going to be Bionic Dance and Rags, I think. But
unless you're one of those, oh, that's just the Old Testament type of people.
But I mean, but stuff like that, I think Bionic Dance is fine for. I think she can probably devastate this guy. But I mean, the guy thinks that you should put kids to death. At that point, I even told Kyle, I will try to be maintaining myself, but I am a parent.
Well, you either subscribe to the 613 old laws or you do not. And if you do not, then you have to give up the 10 Commandments right off the bat. And then that's the starting point.
You mean I'll finally be allowed to boil a baby goat in its mother's milk?
That's
holy crap.
You're giving away my next episode, damn it.
I didn't even know that was your next episode, Jim. Yep. You're the one who knows about my next episode.
I think this is the same kind of Skylar.
Close to the chest. Well, no, I'm gonna do a remake of 43 Alley's old video, the 10 Commandments. If you guys know 43 Alley,
I wish he still did stuff.
I know his shit was on point, but I'm gonna just revamp it and add some more to it. But there's a Deuteronomy Old Testament, there's a Leviticus Old Testament, right? And we're gonna start at Exodus 19, and we're gonna go to Exodus 34. And I'm going to, well, of course, it'll be heavily edited, but I'm gonna just read through the entire 19 through 34, and I'm gonna show how many times Moses went up Mount Sinai, how many times he went down Mount Sinai, what happened in between, how long did it take, and I'm going to show conclusively that, just like you said, Suris, the 10th commandment is, thou shalt not seethe a kid in its mother's milk.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I actually had this conversation with a friend of mine, or not a friend anymore. I don't honestly know if we're friends. I know that he's seen stuff on my channel, because he actually, when I did my "What's the Harm" video about, you know, what the particular harm in certain beliefs can be, He had the longest, I'm not going to say most well thought out, but the longest several paragraph long response to that, where he was like, no, the reason that these parents killed their kids was not because of faith healing. It was this. And I'm like, no, it was. They said it. They went on record several times to say it. Don't even try that. And when he said that the problem is that a Christian or a good Christian would point out that these people are doing something wrong. And I'm like, yes, I didn't say that they were good Christians, though. I said that they were bad examples of bad ones. I actually had a conversation with him earlier when we were more civil with one another, when he said that, laws should be based on the 10 Commandments. And I was like, oh, you mean the ones talking about boiling a goat in its mother's milk? And he was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, we went to the same Christian private school. We received the same education. How is it that you do not get that? That is in the actual set of commandments that went into the Ark of the Covenant, the ones that the Jews were supposed to ascribe to, contained the 10 Commandments that actually had do not boil a kid in its mother's milk.
As long
Those
as
are the ones that actually made it into the Ark. And he's like, no, that's not true.
Before you even start talking to them, you have to agree on 3 things. That the 10 Commandments were given by Yahweh to Moses, that they were written on stone tablets, and they are called the 10 Commandments. If they can agree on that, you can walk them through.
You can walk them through Exodus 20 and show that there's 11 in that alone.
No, it starts at 19. He goes up it's Mount Sinai. He goes up 3 times total. He goes up once, he receives a verbal confirmation, comes down and he gives something verbal. We don't know what it is. He goes up a second time, and he personally, with a stone cutter, ironic, he inscribes. It took him 40 days to inscribe.
And inscribe.
He goes back down. He sees that everyone's worshiping gold instead of him, and so he gets pissed and he crushes them. Then he goes back up, and he gets them done again by God with the fingertips of God. And that's the one that actually says these are the quote-unquote 10 Commandments. That's the first and only time it actually calls them the 10 Commandments.
Yes, because the first commandments were not 10. They had everything from had everything from the ones that we try to put on courthouses all the way down to things like how to treat your slave and what you can do with a Jewish slave and stuff like that. That was in the original set that were broken.
Yep.
But don't you remember Mel Brooks' movie where he's like, I have 15 commands, he drops one. I have the 10 commandments.
Hey,
that was classic.
I just started getting into the backstories of all the Mel Brooks, the Spaceballs, the Blazing Saddles. Go on YouTube and watch like the behind the scenes and the documentary.
Oh God, those movies are brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was awesome. Oh,
I need to actually watch History of the World again at some point.
Oh, I've seen that movie so many times. It's great.
Why they never made a History of the World Part 2?
They weren't supposed to.
They were never supposed to.
Yeah, the ending, where they had the scenes for Part 2, that was all staged because they were never going to make Part 2.
But if you watch the documentary of Blazing Saddles, all the stuff they wanted to put in there, but they couldn't get away with it. Yes, censors destroyed that movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's another movie that censors destroyed, but it was actually entirely on purpose. Have you seen? I think it's the Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. I want to say
great movie.
So for the time that movie came out, it was very brutal, right? Well, the thing is, when Hitchcock made that movie, he actually made several borderline pornographic scenes in his original cut of the movie, because he wanted all of those scenes to be censored so that the ones that he wanted to keep in would be looked over.
Smart move.
Yeah.
I got another hate comment. I love this one. See if you can parse it for me. It's real short. McRae completely monopolies. Can't continue with this video.
Wait, what?
It sounds to me like you're hogging the conversation, maybe.
Monopolies, not monopolizes.
Not monopolizes, monopolies.
This was me and Ken Hovind.
Steve McRae plays Monopoly on his channel, and therefore I do not like him. Unsubscribe.
I am not making this up. That's the comment.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's not the one.
Steve, why are you playing Monopoly on your channel? I don't understand.
No one's ever finished a game of Monopoly. It always ends with "fuck you, Grandma, you're a cheater," and then flip the board over.
Is that to say Monopoly always finishes the same way, delegating who's picking up the pieces?
Let's see. Oh, here's one. Here's one. I fucking hate feminist, not feminists. I fucking hate feminist. You are all going to burn in hell.
I hate singular feminist.
Yeah.
The deity of feminism.
Feminist. Particular feminist out there that he hates, I guess.
I can't stand that word. First wave, third wave, don't care. Can't stand it. Like, no, that's what's funny, and it's actually one of the things that I was very confused on. So the thing that actually got me taken out of my job was apparently customer complaints. And the customer complaints were always ones that were essentially unfounded. Specifically, one of the ones in specific that my district manager held on, and I literally looked at him and said, "You're really holding this one?" Every other word was misspelled. It literally looked like a bad YouTube comment. And I'm like, this is what you're keeping in your official document? That's what you're okay. Sure, why not? Like when your complaint looks like a bad YouTube comment, I think that's silly.
Oh, and Nightmare Fuel is in your audience too. I think he's going to be on Non Sequitur show too. Nightmare
Fuel says he hates feminist. I believe I hate feminist.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not a feminist by any means, and it really bugs me when people say, "Oh, well, you're not a feminist. You don't believe in egalitarian." I'm like, "Fuck off." You don't
that's
even.
That's not the same thing.
And we have come full circle, Grasshopper. We're back on word definitions.
Oh God,
that's not. It's not word definitions. God, you need to get over that whole definition thing. But words usages.
No, if you and I both agree on the term, that we can start. That's a starting point.
I don't care how people use the definitions. It's a label. I don't accept the feminist label. I don't give a shit what your definition is.
There's three plausible definitions for feminist, and we have to agree on it before we start the conversation.
At least.
So I'm just going to say this right now. This might get very awkward, or my lighting might get very awkward here, because there's not actually.
He's decided to lay down.
Well, I understand that, but there's actually not a light on in this room. It's actually just a studio light. But my studio light is on a tripod on a table because it's not able to stand up high enough on its own. My cat has decided to sleep under the tripod. Depending on how that cat wakes up, I may or may not lose lighting. That would be very strange.
I don't know if this one's going to be funny. The rainbow that Noah saw was a new phenomenon, never seen before. It was after the global flood. Since it probably never rained. Since it probably never rained before the flood.
That's worse. That is worse than the no death before the fall argument.
Yep.
Yeah.
So how did grass grow for all those years prior to the flood?
Nutrients?
You got to remember, this is back in the day where lions and tigers were vegetarians.
Yeah.
Remember, common sense did not evolve on the plains of the savannah where a sound in the back could mean that a tiger was about to kill you.
Well, this one kind of ties in with our word definitions. God can exist as long as you redefine it to mean the summation of all existence.
That's just pantheism.
I was about to say, that sounds a lot more like something that's all-inclusive, like the Tao, not necessarily the Christian God.
Richard Dawkins said, pantheism. Pantheism is just sexed up deism.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry.
Pantheism.
Because I'm in on that pantheism stuff.
She wants to be worshipped.
I've got it wrong. Someone quoted the.
Yeah, no, I've heard. I know what you're saying. Yeah. But I can't remember the exact quote. But yeah, pantheism is
something is watered down atheism, and pantheism is sexed up deism.
I like that.
No,
or something like that.
Sex up atheism.
Sexed up atheism. Yep. Anyway.
Is that like saying that agnostics are atheists with no balls and atheists are anti-theists with no balls?
Dawkins knows as much about philosophy as I do about women.
Homeopathy?
Absolutely nothing. He should not. Dawkins should stay away from philosophy. He has done more damage to people. I think I'm not a fan of Dawkins at all. Dawkins. He's fine for biology, right? But I mean, his whole Dawkins scale.
The Dawkins scale.
Jesus.
Yeah,
fucking
but can't now
ridiculous.
you've said that before, but can the Dawkins scale be used in a way that you would comport with your ideals? Because
No,
I tend to use it sometimes as just you know to gauge where you at on your certainty.
Well, one, he's taking a term already well established. Strong atheist is a term already well established, and he's giving it a stipulative type of definition. And that's not even the worst of it. The worst is he's talking about certainties, and because he's talking about certainties, he's taking it away from what atheism is, and same with theism. Neither atheism or theism require certainty. That's why when a theist says, well, you know, you can't be an atheist unless you can demonstrate the impossibility of the contrary, that God cannot exist. No, you don't have to do that to be an atheist. Sorry, you don't.
Let me throw this out at you. Anthony Mandabusco, when he's got his GoPro on and he's walking around the parks, he always starts off by asking, what is your, if you had to put a percentage on it, what's your level of certainty that X is true? And they would say,
I really hate that question, by the way. I really do. I think that's a loaded question myself, but
that's how he always starts off.
I understand why you ask it. Yeah, I know. But he also says if people don't answer it, he doesn't push it.
But they'll start off at 100 and they get down to, sometimes in 5 minutes, they'll get down to like 40%.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people say they're 100 when they're full of shit. Like, if you ask me, are you certain 1 + 1 = 2? Yes, I have certainty there. Okay, I'm 100% sure, right? If you want to use.
No, you're 99.999999999, but that's equal to 100.
Yeah, repeating. Yeah, 99.999 repeating is equal to 100.
Here we go.
There's something called Cartesian certainty. Okay, and Cartesian certainty is a certainty that we really can't ever reach. What that means is that, have you ever heard the concept of map and territory, Jim?
Let's say it one more time. I'm getting some feedback.
Ever heard the expression, don't confuse the map with the territory?
Never heard that.
Okay. When we have this formalization of beliefs, we are looking at reality, and we have a map to it. We never actually look at the territory. We never actually see reality for what it is. We see it filtered through our perceptions, right? Because we're generally getting most of our knowledge from empiricism, which are our senses, right? Not all of it is rationalization, rational ways to get knowledge, but we get a lot of it through senses. But the way we perceive reality is just the map. It's like looking at a map of something, right? When you're looking at a map, you're not actually looking at the actual terrain. Well, we never see reality for what it really is. We don't look at the terrain. We look at the map. And so our beliefs is what that map is. And so when we say don't confuse the map with the territory, it's basically saying that they are two entirely different things, and we never have the epistemic certainty that the map is the territory. They're two different things.
What if it's a topographical map and you are so good at looking at it that you could visualize the mountain peaks?
But even still, even if you're looking at the map, you're never still, even if it's a perfectly 100% accurate map, you're still not looking at the territory. You're looking at a representation of the territory.
I see.
And you can never be certain of it. This goes to what's called scientific realism versus scientific instrumentalism. A theory, for example, like relativity, represents what we think is reality. It can model and it can predict, but a scientific instrumentalist says, hey, I only have to have the theory be able to do those things. It doesn't have to actually be what the territory is, while a scientific realist says, no, it is the territory. That is the way reality is. I don't know of a mechanism to determine one or the other, so therefore I'm happy being an instrumentalist and just have to say the theory works, right?
Yeah. So, that makes sense.
But that's why it's really critical to really know what we mean by beliefs, because beliefs are our map to our reality.
Schubert says that, Steve, you were in the Navy. It's not a map, damn it. It's a chart.
You don't map a course, you chart, of course.
And that chart is flat, like the Earth.
He's a quartermaster, so he actually worked with that shit. I didn't.
And if your chart or map is more than a year old, then the magnetic north on the declination diagram has changed from the Hudson River towards Canada by
Have you seen the video of the actual migration of the magnetic pole? It's fascinating.
I know. And where's it going?
It's going to converge and flip. If you actually look at it, it's
going to
actually
come back on itself, right? It's going to come back towards America.
All I know is it's going to be a pole reversal very soon.
Well, we're 60,000 years overdue for a pole reversal.
It could be any time. It could be within
my lifetime. But it's not going to happen in one day. It's going to happen over the course of decades. But when it happens, all your refrigerator no, it's going to be decades.
Is it decades? I didn't think it was that long.
Your refrigerator magnets are just going to fall off the refrigerator, and your GPSs. Yeah, they won't. Yeah, they will.
Dude, a refrigerator magnet is stuck on a refrigerator because they're magnetized.
A pole reversal means negative.
Why does it care?
Positive.
No, that's not. No. That's not. Okay. No, Jim, that's not okay. Pole reversal is when you have the north and south pole, right? Magnetic pole.
Yeah, right.
Because we have an iron core, it produces a effect of magnetic, right? So what happens is that this pole, which is positive, is going to go to the south, and then the north is going to.
And why invert. Would that not affect every magnet on Earth?
Because a magnet still has its own magnetic pole. It still has its own north and south.
But even still, dude.
If you're in a spaceship,
hang on. But a refrigerator magnet doesn't give a shit whether you have the north pole on the refrigerator or the south pole. It don't give a shit. It's going to stick to it either way.
Why is it when we dig up fossils and we can tell when the way the poles were,
because they're domains.
The way the fibers, the metallic fibers in the fossil in the sediment.
You have what's called magnetic domains, and these domains are the orientation with respect to the magnetic lines of flux. Okay, and
when the poles reverse, you're saying all magnets won't.
A free-floating magnet will spin the other way. A compass, right? Those domains will go the other way.
Oh, a compass in real time will north will become south.
It'll move this way, right?
A compass will do it, but a localized magnet operates the same way on Earth as it will in the vacuum of space.
Even during the transition,
there's a gravitational pull anywhere else.
Even during that decade-long transition to pole reversal, magnets will not be affected.
It doesn't affect other magnets.
Localized magnets have localized environments. What happens outside of that localized environment does not matter.
Well, fuck me. I never knew. Okay.
And then the demonstration of that is a magnet operates the same way here as it does in the ISS. It operates the same way here as it does on the moon.
Wait, magnets work on the ISS?
Yes, magnets work in a vacuum. They have localized fields.
Yeah, a magnetic object has no relevancy to the Earth's magnetic thing.
If you took one of our magnets, a really strong magnet, and took it to Mars, it would still work.
Yes, it would operate exactly the same.
Fuck.
Magnets are localized environments.
I'm an idiot, dude. That just proves how much I'm an idiot.
Physics is not your thing.
To be fair, each one of us is an idiot in something.
Oh God, yes. There's a lot of subjects. But see, I love that because I would be like, I don't know jack shit at what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah,
but also,
why do I even have an atheist channel? I should either have a chess channel or unarmed combat channel. Other than that, I got nothing to offer.
Speaking of that, Jim, you and I still need to play chess.
Oh yeah, I will beat your ass, but okay.
Jim,
you will probably beat my ass, but that's fine.
Jim, any idiot can be an atheist.
Oh, thanks, man. God damn. Ouch. But I do a Wednesday night, I do a Thursday night, I do a Saturday night with theists, and we have interfaith discussions. And I've written 2 books, and not to toot my own horn, but I've gotten multiple emails from people that said, "Oh, I came to you as a theist, and I read your book, laughing at it, and a year later, I planted some sort of seed, and now, thank you for all that."
I'm gonna have to look into the pole reversal because I didn't think it took that long because and I can't imagine it really would because the reason why we have the poles is the fact that we have an iron core and there's something called a dynamo effect, and basically it's just the liquefaction of the iron core spinning around when you have it produces a magnetic field, and so this magnetic field permeates the Earth, and because the orientation of this this iron thing, that's going to cause it to switch. And so I thought it was pretty quickly. I didn't think it happened over decades, but I'm going to have to look into that. But I don't think it's that much effect.
You're going to have to research that, and Jim's going to have to research magnets in a vacuum.
Arlington, Virginia. The time it takes for Earth's magnetic field to reverse polarity is approximately 7,000 years, but the time it takes for the reversal to occur is shorter at low latitudes than high latitudes. 7,000 years it takes.
I'm going to have to look into that.
And that is from the National Science Foundation.
Yeah.
You'll just have to take a look and see. Because honestly, I don't have an answer for it either.
Well, I mean, what's really going to screw things up is that things have to be calibrated differently, obviously, because I mean, compasses will now point the other way. It's not going to be in the world, though.
It's happened at least 6 or 7 times.
Will that change flat Earth arguments at all?
No, matter of fact, I don't know how they incorporate that in there.
No, I don't think they do.
But we have records of the seabed being, like you said, the domains go in a different direction and produces these light and dark alternating stripes, and we have records of that every time there's been a pole reversal. So we know they've happened many times in the past.
Last one, ready?
Kansas will be the North Pole for a while.
Will we still call? I would just laugh if that would make Australia the top of the world instead of the bottom of the world.
Well, it would. We wouldn't, because the poles are still. You got to remember, we still are spinning with respect to the axis. The actual pole and the magnetic pole are two different things. They're near each other, but they're not the same thing.
This might be an urban myth, but I've heard like public schools in Australia, they do flip the Earth, and Australia is on top.
I believe they do, actually.
And Tasmania is south, but it's up.
Yeah, that one I've actually read in a few books, that it's that is actually how that functions. I have not been there. In fact, actually, Not Joe Witness was here earlier. He's an Aussie. I might be able to ask him.
I love that name, by the way.
He's
General Han Solo. He's a Aussie.
We'll just get them to like, hey, take a picture of the nearest map, please.
All right, last one. This is okay. No, I already said that one. Oh, better know Allah now than burn in hell later. That's my last one.
Better know Allah now than burn in hell and later.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I get a couple of those every so often.
And then I cut it out, but he proceeded to give me multiple cut and paste proofs of fulfilled prophecies in the Quran.
Well, you know that Islam is also the originator of the Kalam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's right. Yeah, Kalam.
Yeah, that entire thing comes from Islam. I'm just going to say this now, and I've said it a few times. I've been in the middle of reading the Quran for months. It's not a long book. It's just boring as hell.
I can't do it.
114 chapters, and I've read it 4 times in 4 different translations.
Geez, no. I tried. I said, "Fuck this! Not going to happen."
It's
well, like if you can get to the first few chapters, because it. Fact check me here.
I'm on chapter 3 right now.
I don't have an interest in it, though.
No, I'm on chapter 5.
The first surah is the longest. It goes from longest to shortest.
I think the second surah is the longest one, actually.
No. They go longest to shortest. It goes in a particular order.
I think the first surah is only
the Alim Bim.
The first chapter is only 7 surahs.
Yeah, the ones that they don't even know what it means. Yeah.
I honestly, I have zero interest in reading the Quran. Zero, absolutely zero.
Well, the good stuff happens in the Hadith anyway, and depending on
that's where you get the chopping of the heads and the children.
I look at it this way: if I need to know something about the Quran, I'll go to Suris, I'll go to Heretic Woman, I'll go to Yuja. I have people around. I don't ever have an interest to go learn it to myself. So anybody that comes on the non sequitur show, when we ever bring up the Quran, I have nothing to add to it whatsoever.
All right, Jim. Part 1 of the Quran is 7 surahs. I have it right here.
All right. Well, then after that, it goes from biggest to smallest.
Yes. Part 2 is here, and it's the cow.
The cow, right?
Part 2 is the cow, and it's where you get into the dowry and all of that. You know,
the cow is the longest one.
How inheritance is supposed to work, and that females are worth a half in some instances and a third in some others.
A third, yeah.
They're a third if they're sisters. What's up?
What's funny about Biggest Dickus?
What's funny about Biggest Dickus?
Oh,
love that movie.
I love when they're spray painting the graffiti on the wall, and then the Roman comes up and corrects him on his Latin grammar.
Yeah. Life of Brian was hilarious, man. Oh my god.
I'm still a Holy Grail guy, but Life of Brian was definitely.
Holy Grail was my favorite. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Holy Grail God knows how many times.
I'm always going to be a Holy Grail guy for as far as Monty Python's concerned. Though I do think that one of my favorite memes that has come out of Monty Python will always be "Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition."
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Have you guys seen Ready Player One yet?
Not yet. Don't spoil it.
I'm not. This won't spoil it, but it's like kind of like a Matrix world where you can go into a VR because the real world sucks.
Jim, have you read the book?
I heard the book is so much better. But anyway, you're in this VR world, right? And there's all these things going back from like the earliest days of video gaming. And so there's this one weapon that he's got in his tool belt that he forgot to use, and he's in a pinch, right? And it's the holy hand grenade. He pulls it out and he wipes out, like decimates.
You shall count to 3.
Yes.
That's 1. That's 2.
5 is 2.
5 being right out.
That's 3. That's a lobster holy hand.
I will say this, Jim. You desperately need to read the book.
I will.
There are few instances like when you've got something like the Harry Potter books. The Harry Potter books are close enough to the movies that you get a similar experience between the two. Ready Player One is almost a completely different experience. It's almost completely different between the two.
My version of that is Clockwork Orange. If you've seen the movie, go read the book because it's a completely different.
Just like have you read World War Z? Oh,
I never have, but the Brad Pitt, the fast moving aliens. Oh no, zombies.
Nothing to do with the only thing the movie and the book share is a title.
Can you imagine if zombies move that fast in Walking Dead?
What's up?
Can you imagine if zombies move that fast in The Walking Dead? It'd be a different series.
I'll say this: actually, since we're on the topic of zombies, what do you think would be the worst type of zombie apocalypse out of all the different zombie apocalypse fictions that you've heard? I have 2. I want to hear what yours are.
One where there is no people that are immune to it, and we all suffer.
Well, that one you can actually deal with. The one where everybody's infected, like in The Walking Dead, you can actually deal with it by just changing the way that society looks at death. Instead of we have to bury them. No, upon death, everybody has to be executed. Second time. You change the way society functions, and that solves a lot of that. And eventually, society would have to if it wants to survive.
What is your scenario?
My 2, actually, I want to hear Steve's first, if Steve has one.
Well, I only watched The Walking Dead, and even then I stopped watching it 2 seasons ago. I don't watch Z Nation.
I stopped before the Any Mini Money Mo, the Negan.
Yeah, the whole Negan thing. I saw parts of it, but
I suffered some PTSD in Iraq, and I watched the episode in Terminus when they were zip tied arms behind their back and they were leaning over the horse trough and they were getting baseball batted or they were getting their throats slit. Remember that?
Vague. I remember in Terminus, but I mean,
that's what I stopped. That fucked my head up.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you for that. Like I said, it got a little much for me too, and I'm not a big fan of gore, so I stopped watching it. But the Resident Evil that's a zombie type thing, right? That would be freaky.
Yes. I think Resident Evil is actually one of my 2 that I think would be the worst ones to go through. Because in the Resident Evil universe, both in the movies and in the games, you have not only zombies, but zombies have the ability to mutate further and further and further the longer the apocalypse goes on. So like if you've got, say, your 28 days later zombies, yes, those zombies are terrible for the first set of the infection, but they also die out. They die out of starvation. They become worthless after a certain point within that realm of fiction. Mm-hmm. Resident Evil has zombies that the longer they're allowed to be around, the higher the chances that mutations come out. And they become worse and worse and worse unless they're dealt with quickly. That's why in the games, at least, the zombie apocalypses are always dealt with in localized environments and dealt with very quickly, because if they're not, it just gets worse. Not just everybody becomes zombies, but somebody gets infected with a virus and their system is not compromised by the virus. They just mutate into a tyrant instead. That's one zombie apocalypse I think is worse. The other one I would say would probably be the Star Wars zombies. If you've ever seen how zombies operate in the Star Wars universe.
Off the top of my head. But anyways, I'm going to be getting going. It is getting late. You've been at this 3 hours.
You got 2 things to do after this. You got a full Saturday ahead of you.
Yeah, I've got video and getting some computer repairs done, which is probably going to be in the next. Probably going to wrap things up here in about 10 minutes.
All right. I'm out of hate comments.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, Natalie said the Omega Man. I've actually. Have you guys seen Omega Man?
Nope.
There's been a couple different remakes of that. Was the original Omega Man? Wasn't that with Charles Heston or something? Wasn't it?
The original Omega Man, or the Omega Man with Charles Heston. Yeah. Then when it was remade the most recent time, it was I Am Legend, and then in the original book it is I Am Legend.
Right.
Omega Man is based on the I Am Legend book, and then I Am Legend the movie is based on the Omega Man movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, I remember the original, and I saw I Am Legend too, but I'm not a.
I think Omega Man was a better movie than I Am Legend personally.
I like the classics.
I watched it. I watched Omega Man after I Am Legend. I enjoyed I Am Legend. I watched it in theaters, but I think Omega Man was actually really good, and I really liked how in Omega Man it actually showed kind of what happens when somebody doesn't have social interaction, because he has an entire thing where he sits in front of a mannequin and tries to play chess with the mannequin because he has no human interaction. He facilitates it as best he can.
Yeah, just say I gotta go. You can get out.
And I think Omega Man does a really good job of showcasing somebody in an actual post-apocalyptic environment.
No more.
I think Jim forgot to mute his mic.
Yeah, I don't know, Jim.
Anyway, Steve, I will say that you actually inspired, unfortunately, what my next upload is going to be on my channel.
Which would be Zombie Apocalypse 2.0?
No, I've actually got it scripted and recorded already. It's just sitting there waiting to be edited. It is going to be on urine.
Urine therapy.
Yep, because of our lovely friend Dave.
I don't want accreditation for that then.
It's not saying Steve and Kyle. It's just saying thanks to. It begins with a clip of me watching that section of the Non Sequitur show and just slamming my head repeatedly with my hammer.
Yeah, you could put a shout out on NSS, but that was, God, that guy's bizarre.
It was weird, but yeah, it's literally me watching it and just going. Like I actually had to take headache medication afterwards because of how many times I hit myself in the head.
When he said it's not a waste product, I'm like, I'm done. This guy.
I have 3 articles already set up and ready to link into the video showing that it is not only a waste product, but the cleanest, most purest form of urine has at least 33 different types of bacteria in it.
Oh yeah, no, I think I know it's a myth that it's sterile.
No, it's sterile when
it's sterile
like in the first 1 second after it comes out.
Well, no. As soon as it passes through the urethra, it's going to pick up bacteria, and it also before then, and you always have bacteria. But it's sterilely produced, but that doesn't mean it's sterile.
It doesn't make it a sterile.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the video, I'm going to be going into what the different colors mean, and if these colors even exist in urine, then your urine can't always be sterile. Period. 2, what different bacteria comes out of it. 3, what happens when bacteria gets into your blood, because there's the misnomer that you can piss on a jellyfish sting and it's going to help it.
Yeah, no, that's a myth because the actual other elements in it will actually cause more damage than
it causes more.
Also, maybe look into keto. This new diet fad with ketosis and how you can measure, by peeing on a ketosis. I think that's.
Well, the ketone diet I've actually had people swear by the ketone.
Yeah, I think it does more damage than it does good, though, in the long run.
I think it's only for a limited thing on the paleo type diet where your liver starts processing the ketones. But
it's going to be something damaging. That I might be able to tackle depending on what it is. The whole thing with the urine thing is it's strictly for a new segment on my channel called Dangers of Woo. and it's strictly going to be tackling stuff like homeopathy and.
Well, don't forget to mention
the keto diet is woo, dude.
No, I don't think the ketone. I would.
Well, I'll do the research on it and come up with my own.
I've talked to medical people on it, and they've actually they said the ketone works for limited times, but because your liver's actually going to process the ketones, but it takes away from the glycolysis, if I remember correctly, instead of processing. It switches from sugars to ketone. Is that correct? Am I not mistaken? It's been a while since I looked at the ketone.
I know when you get into ketosis, when you pee, it smells like fingernail polish remover, like acetone.
That as well, yeah. Ketones are But I was going to say you forget to mention the other products in urine. I mean, obviously urine's high in nitrogen and calcium and sodium, especially sodium, because drinking urine, it's like drinking salt water, and so the reason you die by drinking salt water, or not salt water, but like ocean water, is because you're dehydrated. It actually produces
the salt ends
an
up
osmosis.
pulling out all the water.
Yeah, it has an osmosis effect in your intestines, and the water gets pulled out, and your intestines dry out, right? And so you're constantly putting a concentrated form of sodium in your body, and then as it pees out, it's more concentrated, and you're getting more concentrated. So you continue to drink your own pee, you could kill yourself because you dehydrate.
I didn't end up getting into that portion of it because I wanted to keep the video. Like what I managed to pull out was 10 minutes of audio without my intro and outro, without any of that. So that's not even counting the portion where I was watching the non sequitur show, and that already hit the 10-minute mark, and I didn't want to go further yet. But what I might end up doing is, because what happened with the Bible Codes video was one person messaged me on Reddit and said, "Hey, you forgot to mention all of this stuff that happens with Bible cryptology." And I was like, "Okay, well that's fair, and I can mention that stuff in a follow-up. I should put it in my description if you guys want me to bring up more information. I will." I might end up pulling more information for a second part on urine therapy if it's requested, but I mainly focused on just what bacterial infections can cause, and
that's fine.
that all that is in urine for this one.
Well, anyways, I'm going to be taking off here tomorrow.
Do your plug, Steve.
Yeah, don't forget, tomorrow's going to be fun because we have that idiot.
Oh yeah,
and I'm people say you have to be unbiased. No, fuck you. I am biased. You say that kids deserve the death penalty, you can fuck right off. But I will be nice. But I'm definitely not going to be unbiased. And so tomorrow that pastor is going to come in and he's going to be engaging with, I believe, Rags and Bionic Dance. So good luck to him. He's going to need it.
And I will be tuning into it as I can.
Yeah, same here.
I'm going to be mellow. I'm going to be calm, but I gave Kai a warning. I have a breaking point too, and that's protection of kids, especially as a parent. And hopefully, Bionic Dance and Rags will be able to slap him down and put him in his place. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to remain calm. But hopefully, I'll try.
Yep. Do you have anything you want to plug in, Jim?
Great debate community, non sequitur. Oh, I'm plugging Steve stuff.
I pay him well.
Jim is a shill for the GDC.
Patreon.com/Atheist Edge, Facebook Atheist Edge, Twitter Atheist Edge. First book is Most People Believe in God. Can They All Be Wrong? Second book is Pulling Back the Green Curtain. And that is all my plugs.
Okay.
Available on Amazon and fine bookstores everywhere.
And I believe I'll have to talk with Kyle on this, but I think me and Brilliant Doubt are having a thing on the non sequitur show on the 22nd, Android versus iPhone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Brilliant Doubt's going to come on with Kyle, and it's going to be against myself and Ozzy on If Doubt's a Virtue.
Yep.
On the 25th.
And then
that's going to be awesome.
They're going to be very fun shows.
Yeah, I mean, I've already got my. I don't know how much of my argument I can get out. Ozzy is obviously extremely well versed in this, but I have my own reasons, which I think actually parallel with Ozzy's. Why doubt is not a virtue. I think it's a very bad argument to say that doubt's a virtue. So
we have to define virtue. I'm sorry, just joking.
Aside from the next video I have out, which is obviously going to be out once I get it done editing, which could be anywhere between 5 hours from now or tomorrow. So I don't know when that's coming out, but it's going to come out within the next 24 hours. So I think that's all of our plugs, unless there's anything else you guys want to say. Any final words?
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for letting us on,
man.
I'm thrilled to come on your channel and talk to you. Thank you.
Next time we meet, we're going to figure out a way to do a chessboard on, like a side-by-side chessboard.
Yeah,
Chess online.
Yeah, the next thing that me and Jim need to do together is a chess match with each other.
I forget. Are you rated? Have you ever been rated by ELO or USCF?
Yeah, I've never been rated, so I'm going to be slaughtered.
All I know is I can beat the computer on the easiest level about half the time. So what do you think that translates into?
Do you know how the pieces move?
I can beat the computer 50% of the time on the easiest
I'm
level.
assuming you know how the pieces move.
Because that rates you at an 800.
That rates you automatically
Obviously,
at
I know
an
how the
800.
pieces move if I can beat a computer.
Yes.
If you know the Rui Lopez Spanish game, you're about at 1,000.
No, I know Bobby Fischer and Kasparov.
Do you know any of his orthodox openings?
I know some of the Queen Gambit and a few.
Oh shit! Then you might be up there, like a 1300-ish.
Before we devolve into the chess conversation, which if you guys want to have, we actually have that conversation on the thing that me, Steve, and Jim did on Atheist Ed's channel.
I like chess. Chess is one of my favorite games.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Steve.
Good night.
All right.
Go.
See you guys.
Yeah. Good night.